Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Are you a brewhead? I'm a brewhead. Y'all are brewheads? Yeah, we brewheads. So pour a glass of craft beer, we can do this. Yeah.
What's good, y'all? This is Cee Certified Brewhead, and welcome to episode 114 of Beer and Other Shit, the podcast Adjunct series. This is going to be a beauty. I've been excited to do this one for a little while. This brewery is from an area that we haven't really touched on before, and I don't even know if I've had many beers from these guys, so I'm really excited to hear the story and to get stuck into the beer. But of course, before you know the vibes, guys, this episode is brought to you by the good folks at Manscaped. It's never too early to play holiday music, and it's never too early to start thinking about gifts. Whether it's for a friend or the friends in your pants, you can make this season to be jolly with Manscaped. Do your little drummer boy a favor and use the Lawnmower 4.0 to avoid another silent night in the bedroom. Then add in Manscaped's top-of-the-line shower products to have people thinking all I want for Christmas is you. Shouts to Mariah. Santa cares about his sack, so should you. Look nice when you get naughty by going to manscaped.com and use the code BAOS for free shipping and 20% off your entire order. Mate, this stuff is killer. I'm going to bring some of these products to show you guys. So, the Manscaped Platinum Package 4.0 is the one-stop shop for a man who deserves it all. It has everything you need to help you deck the holes, from face to balls, just in time for the mistletoe season. The Platinum Package has each product from the best-selling Performance Package, plus Ultra Premium Body Wash, Ultra Premium 2-in-1 Shampoo and Conditioner, Ultra Premium Deodorant. It's the best way to smell fresh from your Santa hat to your candy cane. The Lawnmower 4.0 Body Trimmer, this bad boy right here with that little ceramic cutter thing. And the Weed Whacker Nose and Ear Hair Trimmer, there he is. This is a banger. I use this every time. Feature proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to protect your delicate presence. Plus, both are waterproof, so there's no issue clearing the snow out of your driveway. There's also a 4000K LED light on it, so you can light the way like a Rudolph. Look at that. Look at that light, mate. You can see everything down there. Now that you've groomed your candy cane, it is time to make sure you don't smell like a reindeer with the Platinum Package shower products. All of Manscaped's shower gear, sulfate-free, vegan, and made to have your skin feeling hydrated and smelling fresh. That's these bad boys right here. But smelling good doesn't stop in the shower. See these. I actually haven't used these yet because I didn't want to get them wet and stuff for the pod, but I'm excited. The Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. There's in this thing here. Fuck, man, I need to be more organized, don't I? I can't get it out. And solve stank problems all day long. Once they touch your sack, you'll never go back, I promise. The Platinum Package 4.0 sitting under the tree is guaranteed to put anyone in the holiday spirit. And for the perfect stocking stuffer, add the brand new Body Buffer, which is this little loofah, like ain't no loofah no more. An incredible body scrubber that makes it fully and easy and a lot cleaner than that old loofah. So, get 20% off and free shipping with the code BAOS at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com with BAOS. Get your jingle balls ready for the holidays. And with that, we're going to bring in the guests. Guys, I'm excited for this one. Please welcome Nathan from NathanDoesBeer, my trusty co-host, and of course, Graeme from Counterpoint Brewery. Welcome, fellas.
Well, that was an ad.
Yeah, it's good, huh?
Awesome.
Isn't it ridiculous? Like, I can't believe that that's someone's job to write that shit.
That's great. I love it.
I know. It's hilarious. They just and it's actually they're doing the way it's all packaged and the way it's all put together is
it looks like nice stuff.
Yeah, good gift for the family, for the human with balls in your life, you know the vibes. Nate
and whoever wrote that has their pun game on point.
On point, and it was approved by head office type thing. I'm just like, they've found every single way to use any, not even just puns, any what's the word, like a little insinuation or whatever. Candy cane, Santa's sack. I'm like, man, you guys, it's like a 12-year-old with a good imagination wrote it. I love it.
Metaphors and similes,
Exactly.
Yeah.
You like it.
Wordplay.
Yeah, you know the vibes. So, Nate, great to see you, brother. Welcome back again. Co-hosting, holding me down. You've been here a bunch lately, and this is a pod that we've had in the works for a solid month or two, and super stoked with it. Graeme, seriously, man, great to meet you. Heard so much good stuff about you personally. You're a well-liked individual, and the brewery itself, man. So, you're setting the Kitchener-Waterloo area off for us. So what better way to do it?
Good to hear. Don't know who you're talking to, but I like that.
you know. So let's get right into the beers. I'm excited. This is a style that I was very happy to see this. I never see this style, or very rarely see this style. This is a California Common Trail Magic. Such a big fan of this style. Tell us about this one, my man.
Yeah, it was just a beer that also, sort of got into, again, I guess, recently. And something that we were looking to fill on the tap list spot, that would provide like a light, crisp beer, but still, good character, right? So it's got a bit of history to it, and it's got a nice little story. And on top of that, it's just a great beer to drink. It's crushable with character. So this has just got a bit of mostly we use a bit of Vienna malt.
Vienna malt.
Part of touch of caramel malt or crystal malt, and then that's pretty much it. Simple hop character to give it some rustic hop aroma flavor, but mostly as a backdrop to just the maltiness.
What hops are in a beer like this? Is it like noble?
Traditionally, Northern brewer. We went a bit. We just used Ontario hops, Glacier, for this one. So
Glacier.
It's an old school hop grown, and this batch is grown here. So one thing we're looking at, or we've done as of this year, is kind of source out some more local stuff. So tons of Ontario hop farmers around that we're getting to know and trying out their stuff.
That's wicked, man. I feel like I have been seeing that a lot more, which is confirms what you're saying, that there is a lot more local product to go around. And I guess in the last 2 years, I would imagine that there's a tendency from everyone in any industry to just support local as much as humanly possible. When everything comes to a halt, what's left? So it's
it really is. I mean, it's got, and so in line with what we want as a small business is for our locals to come out and support us, and then in turn, it's a responsibility, I think, for us to do the same with our suppliers. So malt and hops and yeast is pretty much 100% Escarpment Labs from Ontario or from Guelph. So
love it, around the corner.
Awesome.
Yeah,
boys, let's get it in us. Cheers.
Get it in you.
Delicious. It's such a when I had this on a pod one time or in a review, and this is back before I drank a lot of. I drank definitely a lot more Crispies and the British stuff these days, and I always position this as like an American ESB.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is that an accurate thing as far as what you would say? As far as maybe if you make a British bitter or mild, would it be comparable?
Yeah, I never thought of it that way, but it makes sense to me, right? Where it's in a very comfortable spot between with good bitterness, good assertive malt character, and still some underlying hops to just to give it what you need. But I love the color of this. Love the place it takes. Most people probably don't know that our brewery just doesn't have the capacity to make lagers. So as when we're talking about getting into Crispies and it being a pretty current trend right now, this is what our solution to to the lager.
I love it, man.
It's a good solution, and especially since you don't see very many of them in Ontario. There's not many people brewing them, and what occurs to me, like you mentioned, kind of the assertive malt character, which I'm really getting. It's at only 4.9%. It's got some good heft to it. At first sip, not knowing anything else about it, you might think this was more at 6% or something.
Yes.
It's got some good body to it for a sub 5% beer.
Great point. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. What I find this an interesting conversation. What is a California Common? For something that probably a lot of people watching or listening might not have seen, like Nate saying, like there isn't many of these in Ontario, and beyond. Like,
Yeah, it's
how would you?
actually pretty funny, right? I mean, to think that style this kind of this old and with I guess really so much to have lasted this long, but be so uncommon.
Yeah, I just called it.
Yeah, I mean, traditionally, it was I mean, Anchor Steam beer are like the originals behind this, and so it was cool fermented, I would say, outdoors in San Francisco, and that's it's kind of where it started from. But it's become that's the original, but it's become kind of a hybrid, either lager or super clean ale yeast, and but essentially just focus on malt, keeping it simple and well crafted, clean beer.
Nice. So I know that the alternative name for the style is steam beer. Is that do you know if that is just to do with the fact that Anchor Steam did it first, or is it something to do with with the brewing process at all?
Yeah, so I believe I did study up on this a while back when we first started making it, but forget some of the details. But it was kind of because it was outdoors, so the hot liquid would be going outside, and you'd see the steam coming off it. So,
okay,
steam beer in that respect. And then, of course, I believe they've got I don't know if they've got the rights to it or just that it was them that created it, and so therefore they own sort of that, or
that
loosely own that term, that style.
That makes sense.
Right.
I was going to ask, this is not the first batch that you've done this beer a bunch of times?
Yeah. Actually, we introduced this beer to our lineup probably about 6 months ago, and we just continued to brew it, and it's kind of become a joke because in a way, we introduced it in the summer when it was lawn mowing season, so we just called it our lawn mowing beer, and then we continued to make it in the fall. It was our leaf raking beer, and now it's our snow shoveling beer. So it's just a good, easy beer for any occasion, right? And I mean, you see the label, love the outdoors and love getting outside. So it's kind of the perfect beer for, post hike, post bike, whatever you want to do outside, and just enjoy.
That's dope. What's the response to a beer like this from the the community or your customers? Like, are they for those who are familiar, cool? Like someone more the beer fans might be familiar with it. They'll be like, yeah, sick. But for people maybe who are newer to the style, are they into it? Are they apprehensive?
No, I mean I would say everybody who comes in will ask, what is that, right? And kind of a bit of a band that you guys know, Arabella Park. When we first made it, we sold them a keg and said, just want to check in. How's it going over? He's like, it's good, except I just have to explain 200 times a day what a California common is, right? So, but people are interested. It's kind of neat in that way, how much attention a simple style really is getting, and in here when they come in here and to try it out. And people have reacted really well. Our customers who've known us for a long time, are pleased to see something like this. And then, of course, new customers or customers that aren't necessarily familiar or really into craft beer, it's a great option for them. So,
I was thinking that. I was wondering if this is like a gateway beer by so.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly how we describe it. If you're not familiar with craft stuff, but it's also a good way to prove that craft beer can also be simple, can also be very drinkable. When people come in and or anybody, we talk about craft beer and they're like, oh, I don't like craft beer, I just like a lager. I'm like, well, there's so many options, great options out there locally, provincially, that
absolutely
providing some simple beers, but at least what you're supporting when you do that stuff too.
Very cool, man. Love to hear it. That was what I was hoping to hear, that people are sort of gravitating towards it, and it's converting drinkers across who maybe newer to the game. So it's always interesting because sometimes it's like, the people who just don't like beer because they don't like beer, so a lager isn't going to convert them. You're going to be looking at a sour or New England IPA
Yeah,
or maybe something like that. So to have a beer like this be fill that need as well. That's great. It's really cool to hear, man. Hope yeah, love it. Okay, beautiful. So this is great. Let's get into your beer history, man. So how did you personally get into beer, and then how did that sort of lead into the brewery?
Definitely. Yeah, it's kind of a roundabout way into beer. I kind of crossed through whiskey to get to beer. So
Huh.
I have family in Scotland. And my mom's cousins, she has three cousins over there. Two of them came down, and both were like, "Hey, if you want to come visit us, we'd host you, no problem. Might even be able to get you a job at with the distillery." And I was like, "Yeah, okay, cool." So, it was finishing up university, and yeah, just kind of talked to the manager at their local distillery, which is Glenmorangie, which is a pretty massive distillery, well known. And he said, "Well, we can't give you a job. We can say it sounds great in theory, but can't get you a job until you're actually here." So I was like, "All right, screw it. We'll got plane tickets and traveled over there and showed up and said, okay, well, if you're here, we can get you a job." And learned a lot about that process, distilling, which is, as we know, is half of it is making beer, and then distilling it. So that was kind of neat. And then, of course, in Scotland, plenty of, especially at that time compared to here, plenty of corner stores and independent beer shops and that kind of thing. So a ton of ales available, wacky stuff, clean stuff, international stuff. It was very cool. Learned a lot about, of course, cellaring and barrels when it comes to whiskey, but it was very cool to see that everything was coming from bourbon land to Scotland to and then some being used by breweries. So also stuff like that. So that kind of got me into the craft beverage scene, and then of course just trying out new beers and coming home from that was a wake up, because I think the craziest thing I drank was Rickard's Red at the time, right? Because it had color and more flavor than the other stuff, and then just started shopping around, trying new beers, and that's how I got into it.
That's dope. Okay, and so that was like, how long ago was that when you were in Scotland? So it would have been like
it was 2006. Yeah,
2006. Okay.
So,
and when did you okay, you came back and you were dabbling with beer. When did you homebrew or anything?
Yeah, eventually. It took a while. I enjoyed consuming all the craft beers and trying the different ones out. Traveling around, trying to stop in, kind of like every other beer lover out there, right? Just cruising around, trying to pick up something new.
Yep, that's familiar.
Yeah, you've heard of that bad habits. And so anyways, I met Counterpoint started with two of us actually. So Rich was my original business partner, and I met him over a game of squash, and he used to play squash a lot, and this squash club actually had a like a lounge in it, and so after the game sometimes we'd have some beers, that kind of thing. And one day he brought his home brews in, and I was blown away by how you could actually homebrew good beers. From what I've had a couple of batches in the past, and just shitty beer, and this is amazing. You can make an IPA, you can make a stout, and that sort of thing in your garage or your apartment or whatever. So blown away, and so I kind of apprenticed with him for a couple homebrew batches, and my grandmother, bless her heart, she got me this homebrew kit for Christmas, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll just pour the syrup into a pot and boil it and make beer. And it was terrible, but it went from there, and actually started using grains and hops, and just spiraled there. And to be honest, it was just it was a hobby, and people asked, well, you can start a business, and I was like, well, I just want to homebrew. I don't want to complicate things, and kind of went from there. We joked around about finding a spot. And so Rich and I, we'd brew and have beers, and we start talking about, well, wonder what kind of spot we could find around here, and started writing a business plan. And I don't know, it was like a dare after dare after dare. The next thing you know, we're sitting in our spot after signing a lease, and just unbelievable, saying, well, there's no turning back. So
amazing. And what year was that when you signed the lease?
Yeah, we signed the lease in 2018.
Okay. How long did
2018?
May 2018. Did you get open that year, or did it take a bit longer?
Took a bit longer. We had some interesting back and forth and run around, as it happens with permits in the city and that kind of thing. We'll call it a miscommunication and expectations, given to us by the city regarding permits. So we'd done a bunch of work which we believed we could do without a permit, and then it came around for an inspection, and we had to backtrack and get some more drawings and engineering and stuff like that. But it took us about 9 months, so not too much longer than we had sort of expected. We figured we could do it in 6 months or so, but it took 9 months. And the thing is, every license and permit relies on another license or permit. So just cut through it step by step, and opened February 2019.
Okay, amazing. And when you guys when you sort of were coming up with the idea of the brewery, did you have anything specific in mind? Like, we're going to make a brewery that does this, or specialize in the style, or was it more just I don't want to make every style well, or did you have an approach?
We did. We definitely had an approach where we would kind of hit at least 2 or 3 styles. We opened with 4 taps, and we knew we wanted hit. IPAs were big, and we enjoyed them. Stouts, saisons, hit up some sours once in a while, that kind of thing. So kind of like those 3 or 4 main styles that are pale ales as well, right? So that we could make without lagering, within reasonable time, and we knew that our system would be really small. So again, it's one of those things where turnover, planning out, brew schedule, that kind of thing is really important. But yeah, that part of it was there was a bit of pressure too at the time to make the big crowd pleaser. So it's funny that we've come around to make the California Common, which can be seen as a crowd pleaser. But at the time, with only 4 taps, we didn't really want to fill one with a steady lager, because neither of us liked it at the time and didn't interest us. And one of the best pieces of advice we got was from Jason Fisher at Indie Ale House, to say, brew what you want to drink and what you enjoy, because it'll bring joy to you. You won't be brewing something that you have no interest in. And also, the people that come to you will realize what your business and what you guys are all about. So it was very cool just to kind of, very affirming, and also allowed us to have as much fun and experiment as we wanted, without sort of worrying about having something that would, sit there and remain constant. So
I like that. That is the most sage advice I've found. We've said this here a lot, that the brewers that just brew what they want to drink always do the best. The work is superior. As far as if you're into whatever the style may be, it doesn't even matter. Whatever it is, if that's what you're into, just do it. And do it, make it the best, rather than well, the kids want this style, so I guess I got to do it. You end up doing this beer that you don't really even care about that much, and it's just probably better that you just do what matters. And then, like you said, it gives you an identity, which I think is important in this economy, I guess, or this sort of scene where there is a shit ton of craft breweries in Ontario alone, not to mention the rest of the country. There's a lot of competition, a lot of things going on. So if you're not sort of known for something, or at least sort of have a bit of a track, it makes it a little tougher to kind of stand out. Not that it's a bad thing, really, but I can see why he would have told you that. That's really smart, man. It's good that you guys were
for
all
sure.
together.
And as you can see, we our taste, or my taste has changed, and so this is I actually really enjoy brewing such a simple thing now. and having it on tap so that I can drink it, my customers can drink it, my staff enjoy it, and it doesn't necessarily lock you into place. It just means brew what you enjoy and create what you love, right?
Yeah, super key. So then, in 2019, then what did you open with? What were the 4 beers like with those 4 taps?
Yeah, so we opened with I believe a beer called Dolcissimo, which was a big hazy IPA. Our first duet. So the plan was to run a series, duet series, which is a duet of 2 hops. So nice pairing, pale ale. And we opened with Nocturne, a stout, and then a saison.
Nice.
I don't know the name of it, but
how do the saisons go around these parts? I mean, I just moved out here from Quebec, and they're pretty big out there, but over here, I feel like I don't see them a ton.
Yeah, they're not too common.
Okay.
Not loved. There's a bit of a running joke about calling your saisons a farmhouse ale, and and then it sells twice as much, or twice as well. But it's a lovely style, and I think that. But I think like anything, it'll come and go, or depending on the current flavor of the week or month.
Yeah.
Make it.
And kind of along the lines of what you had just said with Jason Fisher's advice there, like one of the other breweries in your neck of the woods, Block 3, who have been in the game for for a little while now and known for their Belgian styles pretty well. I think they're probably one of the biggest saison producers in your in your area. It certainly seems to work for them. But I think it's exactly what you said before. Like they're likely brewing what they want, what they want to be drinking, and I figured they must like their saison over there.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's it, right? It's great that they've got that niche, and they're brewing that, and there's no way they can make that same saison and make it that good. They've got it perfected. So another thing that we've come across when it comes to saisons is we have to be very specific about the saison yeast that we use. A lot of it, a lot of the saison yeast is caused by static infection, and so we avoid that based on our system alone, only because we have plastic fermenters, which are more prone to infection or issues surrounding sanitation. So.
Gotcha. Right. Yeah. Well, that's smart. At least keeping everything as safe as possible. But
but escarpment provides a yeast that's very friendly for us and works really well. So yeah, it's I love it. Just don't do it. I think actually, just don't do it often enough because it's an enjoyable beer.
Yeah, totally, man. It's when it almost makes them I kind of like that about Ontario, that they're not massive, because when you do get a style that pops up. You're even Nate and I did an episode last week about West Coast IPAs, and there's not that many that are pretty easy to get out here. It wasn't like we had 30 different beers to choose from. Which ones are we going to drink on the pod? We had to be oh shit, does anyone have any? We tried to just get easy to get ones to make it simpler. So I find that it makes it more, I don't know, if they're fewer and further between, but the ones when you do get them, they're fire, then it kind of makes it more of a fine, you scored something, So
for sure.
Not a bad thing. Okay, sweet. So then 2019, you've opened with those 4 beers. What was the response like locally, and how many? I mentioned this earlier. I don't know a ton about the landscape of Kitchener-Waterloo as far as the beer scene there. But what was the Was there a ton in the area? How many breweries are around? What was the community? Were they excited? What's the vibes?
Yeah, for sure, man. Beer was really big. We got into it, or we opened up in it's a very exciting time for beer. Beer was hot. New breweries were hot, and it was fun, really fun to be opening at that time. We had a really good, connection with. A couple of the local breweries, especially Short Finger Brewing, obviously as a as a brew supply shop, and just great community people. You know, we frequent TWB. Arabella Beer Bar was kind of our home base for, like, you know, planning nights and obviously just analyzing one of 18 beers that they have on tap.
And that's a good place to be.
It's so fun and just so beer people around here are really great. Interestingly enough, you know, I think we were the last brewery in Kitchener, at least, to have opened. There's one new one in the works in Waterloo, but kind of slowed down a little bit since, I mean, obviously the pandemic had a lot to do with that, but since then. But we had a ton of support. You know, we were slammed. It was February. It was February 16th, and it was fucking cold. And we had a lineup. People waited for an hour and a half to get in.
Oh my God.
You know, very careful about opening, you know, with capacity numbers and stuff like that. So we've got a small tap room, and so we stuck by that, and people were very patient and very supportive, and it was really amazing. It was a great night, great time.
That's awesome, man. That's great to hear then, that, you know, it's definitely welcome, and it's one of the, you know, we've said that a bunch too, it's one of the strange industries where having more competition actually isn't a bad thing, because it encourages, oh, there's like 4 breweries in that area, sweet, let's go, like, and people make a day of it, or they'll hop around so they get to visit a bit of everything, and, you know, drink some there, take some to go, whatever. So that's really cool to see. Not entirely surprising though, I guess. And now I think about it, we had Rob from Shortfinger on, so that was Kitchener. So we have had that. He's a good dude. He's a really good dude, man. And he's doing a lot of farmhouse too. That's the other one. That's mostly his shit. So
exactly, yeah.
You've got that stuff there. Yeah, doing some interesting stuff. Great dude too. So then, okay, so you had a really great launch. Everything's popping. How did you sort of continue from there? Like, as far as, you know, what you're making, did you like, and that's probably specifically about that time, but also kind of in general, like, how do you make those decisions as far as, like, you know, where do we go from here? Is it like thing that you're planning out months ahead, or you're just kind of like, what are we going to do today type thing?
Yeah, I mean, we really had the idea to stick with essentially those 4 styles and make some variations of them consistently. You know, we wanted to hit all those. Maybe not necessarily constantly have just those 4, but, you know, like, you know, saison, or we throw in a sour or something like that. But essentially working through that, so we would really hit, you know, the hop heavy IPAs and just switch up some grains, switch up some hops, but hit that style. And you know, duet was a common appearance here, and you know, we 2 new hops every time, which actually gets more challenging as we go on.
Yeah,
it seems simple, but it's a lot of work. And then playing with fruit, playing with other flavors, and we started barrel aging kind of right off the bat. The first beer we actually brewed was, you know, a beer for the barrel that we were able to release shortly after we opened, because we sat on it for 6 months, and we brewed it, you know, early on, a few months before we opened. So, and just kind of going from there and evolving on those styles, making them better, or just working with what we had and taking different directions.
That's great. Were people like asking for stuff, or were they just like, was it just you guys doing your thing? And
yeah, I mean, it was pretty much us doing our thing. We kind of set the tone from the beginning by making it pretty clear that we didn't have any flagships. Didn't have our core beers, our core brands, and it was very much in line with sort of, again, like what we liked about visiting breweries or beer halls and beer bars and that kind of thing, where we like variety, like change. What's new? Let's try this out, and that kind of thing. So we'd bring back a few beers that we loved, and that, you know, let's say we had a few requests for them, and brew them again. But a lot of change, a lot of turnover, and with our batches being, you know, 3 hex, it was 2-3 week turnaround for a lot of these beers, and then they'd be gone. So our customers became accustomed to coming in and be like, "Hey, I tried that last week, so I'll try this new one." And it was really cool.
Sick. I love that. Speaking of trying a new one, shall we?
Yeah.
It is about time.
Yeah. What are we doing? You're in charge, Graeme.
Yeah, you got it. Let's crack LL Cool G.
Love it.
All right, let's do it.
Whoever wants to go first.
Okay, well, why don't I go? Why don't I go grab it? So, Graeme, you can tell us about the beer.
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. So this one right here, I have a feeling the way you said similes and metaphors before, I have a feeling you're a hip hop fan.
Actually, yeah, I've been a hip hop fan since I was a kid, man. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful, love it. I appreciate it. Most beer folks are not, so it was great. Calling to be LL Cool G is also super dope. So this is a cool ale with lemongrass, lime leaf, and ginger. What is a cool ale?
Oh man, it's just really cool. We thought that's all. Honestly, okay. and the name is it has everything to do with the ingredients, as in lemon grass, lime leaf, or the LL, and Cool G. But a great play on of course one of our favorites, LL Cool J, and we brewed this one with Thompson Tran of Wooden Boat Food, who's a local chef, a great ambassador for sustainability, with food and access to food, and just a great guy. So he is very rarely now producing food. He closed his kitchen down, but he's very, very sought after. So we decided to do a pop-up together and make some delicious food. He'd make some delicious food, show up here, and we wanted to make a beer to pair with it. So this one really hit with him. He loved it when he had a sip, and it was like a perfect pairing for the dinner he made that night. So
that's awesome, man.
Nice.
Yeah. Big thing with us, working with local businesses again is it's a lot of fun. It opens our eyes to what other people are doing business-wise, and not just sticking in with just other breweries and that kind of thing.
Totally, it's very, very smart. You should
go.
Grab your beer. Love it. Very clear, this one, eh? Like crystal clear.
Oh yeah. Yep. You can see right through that. That's pretty cool. This is an interesting mix of ingredients, and that would have to be pretty deliberate to come up with that unique a mix for a specific food pairing.
Yeah. I mean, obviously with lots of I guess herbs or spices or whatever you want to describe this as, they could probably lend themselves to different dishes and stuff. What were the dishes that this paired with, man? Because this is some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah, it was Penang curry with, and then he did some spring rolls as well. So, but lemongrass, lime leaf were in there, and then of course this is curry mix, peanuts as well. So nice. It was a perfect pairing. It reminds me, to be honest, and kind of after kind of researching Vietnamese drinks, food, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. This really hit. I modeled it after very common tea, grass tea with lime leaf and ginger. Really just wanted to hit that. So otherwise the grain bill is so simple. Just a base malt, Pilsner malt, and then a touch of wheat, and it is it's got some tea very tea like qualities, a little tannic, drying, and but it's cold and carbonated. It's like it's like a beach drink.
Definitely, I can see that. Just crystal clear. It's very bright, aromatic, herbal, but
oh yeah.
I guess the lemongrass gives that citrusy.
Yep,
ginger. Big fan of ginger. Boys, cheers. Yeah. Get in ya.
Cheers, fellas.
Oh yeah. Oh wow, that's big. That is the nose doesn't give off how large that is.
Yeah.
Wow. Oof. I'm trying to even describe this. Okay, so it's not. I thought that it might be a little sour based on probably just the lime and the lemongrass, the lime leaf.
Right.
But what's the base, would you say? It's fascinating.
Yeah, it's intense. And using lime leaf gives it such a different the lime flavor is there, but it's not like you say sour, tart, or anything like that. It's very much, and I think that's what gives it so much tea-like character is the fact that we're using the greens. We're using the leaves, and lemongrass in itself is such a very, very herbaceous, I guess would be the word. But so that's it's a really different play on what you would expect.
Yeah.
And the ginger, the ginger comes out quite prominently, not in a way that's like kind of kicking your like kicking your palate, but it's very prominent in in how it kind of really dries out from the mid palate to the finish. I find without being too like intensely without being too intense either.
It's cool. A big turnout, big changeover. I think from from the lemon lime kind of flavors, and then a big ginger finish. So, sorry guys, I'm just trying to fire out my light here to try and get a better.
No, you're good.
It's fine. Yeah, cool. So really fun to drink, fun to serve, fun to talk about. Being a collab. And so really enjoyable to make.
As Wooden Boat is the name of the restaurant that it was the collab.
Yeah, Wooden Boat Food. Yeah, so Thompson, he's like I said, he's closed his kitchen, but he's kind of famous for his sauces. He's got a couple sauces on the market, and he's focusing on that to grow that side of the business.
Smart. Yeah, there's like almost nothing better than productizing anything that you can do, right? Like in that space. Then that's the money zone right there.
Yeah, true enough.
Yeah, okay, that's sick, man. This is like it's so when you have a beer like this, it's super interesting, and sometimes it's even like it's hard to almost place it because everything, just like in life, we always like put things in a box. I'm like, all right, well, what's this supposed to be?
Yeah, like, exactly.
You're like, it's a cool ale. It's a cool ale. It's just cool.
It's a cool ale. Yeah.
I'm not mad at that, and it's just like in your head, you're still always trying to place it somewhere. Which is
it's true, yeah. It's not really under a style. I mean, I guess if I were to place it in a box, it would be a wheat beer.
There you go. I can see that.
And flavored wheat beer or fruited wheat beer.
That now you say it, I don't know why I didn't pick that earlier. Do you get that too, Nate?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah, I can see.
Yeah, like there is like a certain graininess to it as well, which is pretty common in with wheat beer. So yeah, I got that. I don't think I would have placed it. I don't think I would have placed it without you saying that. But now that you do, I've got that.
Yeah, more of the American style, right? I mean, not too. It wasn't a Belgian yeast or anything like that. Just
Wicked Head
Cali Ale, but
yeah, for sure.
Ooh.
So probably a good segue from this being like a community collab. Your brewery's whole ethos is very big on community, and in fact, I'm like noticing that the slogan that you've got printed on all your labels is community sustainability beer. Do you want to talk a little bit about kind of what's behind that ethos and kind of how you kind of experience the community that you work with?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, those three words, none of them would really exist without the others, right? So it's just so important. We put community first as well, and that slogan, because that's what really matters. We opened with community in mind and wanting to be a safe space, a place where everyone and anyone could come and enjoy beer and feel comfortable. So that was the start of it, really. Our main goal. Sustainability has come into play more so as we became more established. We were able to, and lucky enough to, say, focus on certain aspects of brewing that will lead us to be a more sustainable business, and hopefully, the industry as a whole can roll into that as well, because it's so, again, the stuff we rely on is grown, and it's grown from our earth. So if our earth is healthier, then we'll be able to produce, the producers will be able to make better product. They'll be successful. And so, just anything from buying locally, so that the carbon footprint is lower. Deliveries are a few kilometers away versus cross country. Not even cross country, but internationally. And us from our processes, we'll preserve as much water as we can when we chill our wort during transfer, all that sort of stuff. And it makes a difference to us. And then, of course, beer being, we're a brewery, but so some people would think, why is beer third on the list? But again, like I said, our beer wouldn't exist without our community and our local partners and what, of course, our planet.
Very cool. I like that, man. I like that. That's like, I guess in this day and age, it's important to consider that. We've only got one Earth, so we're gonna take care of it. It makes a lot of sense, and beer does use a lot of resources, a lot of energy. So if there's any way to sort of reuse, recycle, conserve, may as well do that as much as possible, which is dope.
Exactly.
As far as the community, so that's a sustainable side. The second point was community. Talk more about that. Like, what was, did you have like intentions before you started the brewery, or was it something that came about later on as you were open and you were like, realized the importance of it?
Different parts of, I would say, like the definition of community came about at different times. I mean, what we wanted to be was kind of a hub, a safe place, like I said, for people to enjoy beer, discover beer, enjoy company, and so that was kind of what we had in mind for community. And then, of course, as the idea of Counterpoint came to life, we realized that community is also different businesses, like beer businesses, supporting each other, being there for each other, whether it's just you had a question about brewing beer, about opening a brewery, or if you need ingredients, like people are here for each other, which is huge. I don't think there's another industry that is as community focused as beer. And most of the breweries here, again, have the same intentions as us when it comes to their community, not just other breweries, but their customers and their local population. So it's really, really amazing to see people pull together. There are a ton of brews that are brewed with the intent to fundraise or bring awareness to something important. So we're so lucky to have the opportunity to have this business as a platform for this kind of focus. It's really, really nice.
That's great, man. You mentioned the like brewing beers for a cause. I saw you guys did Black is Beautiful, which is very cool.
Yeah, of course.
When did you do that? Was that back in 2020, or was that sort of after the fact?
Yeah, we did two versions of it,
Nice.
And it was kind of again, community focus, very community focused, with four breweries involved. Block 3,
Right.
Shortfinger,
Right.
TWB, and of course Ren from Beer Diversity being on board, and our label supplier Kinsbury as well. Sponsored that, so it was it was a big big project. We brewed it knowing that we didn't want it to just be a one-time thing.
Right.
So we brewed our Black is Beautiful, released it. Our plan was also to host an event to bring awareness and also, raise a little more for the cause. But it was during COVID. It was very difficult to plan anything. We planned a couple events, but that fell through. So we decided to brew another batch, and we put it in barrels. So each of us purchased barrel specific to what we wanted to do with it. Brewed another batch of Black is Beautiful together, stored it for a year, and we were lucky enough, between lockdowns to throw an event at Arabella with 4 breweries and some folks from the African Caribbean and Black Network of Waterloo region where the funds were going towards. So we had some great food, great conversations, and the community support was amazing. So
That's dope, man.
That's really that's really great to hear. And there's only a handful of breweries that we've seen that have bothered to to do Black is Beautiful more than once, and to make it more than just brewing the beer, slapping the label on it, and kind of seeming like it's walking away afterwards. So it's good to see that when there is kind of more of a focus to what's behind it, where it's going, what does this really mean, what's the and kind of the community that it's that it's meant to support, with a little bit with there being a little bit more behind it. See, I think I think you'll back me up on this, because we've watched kind of how that unfolds with a lot of breweries between Ontario and Quebec, and it doesn't happen very much that there's kind of much follow up afterwards, right?
No, not at all. And I could think of one brewery in Quebec that did it 3 times, and then I didn't really know of anyone else who did it more than once. And that was we can talk about it after, but it was like we started a nonprofit called Link Up last year, and
more of that.
You're awesome. That, yeah. I feel like that could be a good fit if that's ever of interest to do one of the collab beers at some point. Love to have you on it if that feels like a fit. We can chat about it off air, but it's to see that level of dedication to that cause is, as Nate said, it's really dope, man. Like I saw that we were looking through Instagram earlier today, and Nate and I were doing it beforehand as well, and I really respect that, because it's like, it was a harder ask sometimes for people. Like, I feel like it was a newer thing for maybe people in Canada to sort of get behind. It's something that's probably been at the forefront of media and people's minds and stuff, maybe in the States a little more than over here. So Ontario did. There was a reasonable amount of breweries that got involved in Black is Beautiful, but basically hardly any did it more than once. Almost none. So big kudos, man, to that dedication. I think that shows across the board. Obviously, there's a lot of having community on your shirts there and on your logo. You live in the walk in the talk, as they say, which is much respected.
Yeah, well, it means a lot for us to be able to do it. And again, I mean, to be honest, I don't want to downplay, but it is fairly simple to do. I mean, we just brew a beer with the cause in mind, and to continue to make that, part of our mission, especially being community focused. It's not just a sticker.
Yeah,
it's not just a statement. Yeah. It's what we love to do.
I think
that says a lot that it's kind of that easy a choice for you.
Yeah.
And speaking of that also being a local community thing, I know Ren's in your neck of the woods as well, and that's not the only collab you've done with her, and Beer Diversity as well. You've had a few other collabs with her, I think, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we're so lucky to have Ren here, and it's an honor to have her, and it's always a pleasure to see her. But it's also just like motivation to be like, let's remind people, let's get on board with this, and bring as many of our customers and our followers or new people to realize what can be done, and if it's as simple as having something on a label that they read while they're enjoying their pint, then let's make it easy for everybody just to learn something and sway them to the right side here.
Yeah, man. It's fantastic, and even just the fact of doing it twice, but not only doing it twice, having the event and then bringing in people from the community. So like what Nate was saying, like a lot of people do it, and there's no shade to people who do it. Like they probably have good intentions, but the follow through is really, I think, the key differentiator with something like this. It just happens to be this. Yeah.
Very impactful. Having conversations, Q&As, and just really seeing our community engaged, and just just essentially just beer lovers, but that know what they want out of their breweries, their local breweries.
Yeah, and given a platform then to the people that this is intending to help. They're actually, hey, come speak. We want to hear you. What you have to say. Let us, let the community ask you questions. See, that is sick. But that's what I'm talking about. Like, it's that extra step that you like didn't have to do, but like Nate said, it wasn't really a thought for you. Like, you're just like, yeah, of course, that's what we're gonna do. Like, it really shows how ingrained this sort of thing is in the brewery, which is just refreshing and super fucking dope, dude.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, and Ren's been awesome. Like even from before our opening, she's been met with her a couple times, and just to get to know what her what her business was all about, her and what she loved in the beer industry, and what she didn't like of course, as well. So it's really important to kind of gauge, see where gave us a little more motivation and focus. Our third anniversary, I guess, capsule or theme that we created was with her, and we did shirts and triple IPA and some stuff with her. So it was a lot of fun.
That's sick. Yeah, third anniversary would mean this February coming up. You got a fourth coming up then in a couple months.
Yeah, birthday's coming.
Oh yeah, what you guys got planned for that? If you can say.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, happy to say. I mean, we're kind of gonna keep it fairly simple, but just go for a fun night. We're not we don't have a kitchen, so we're not a restaurant by any means, and have food regularly. So we'll bring in a pop up that won't spill the beans quite yet, but it'll be a local favorite, and someone who's been by our side from the start. And then, of course, brew some beers, serve some beers we've been saving for a while, and I think we're gonna have some good tunes, some DJs in, and that kind of stuff. So should be pretty good.
That's dope, man. Thanks. Yeah, you got to do it up big. I notice a lot of brewery. I mean, I feel like it's almost like the anniversary means more now after the last couple of years. Like when not everyone made it, everyone was really pushed to the limit as far as whether it's financially, whether it's emotionally, or whatever. As far as what you could sort of deal with, and all the back and forth, and then just making it deserves a celebration. So it's cool. Yeah. I love seeing breweries go all out and making a whole bunch of cool beers and doing something sick for it. And I feel like people are. Have you found that maybe people are more, what's the word? Like more excited or more like into the anniversary thing rather than being like a sort of more like selfish thing? It's really about celebrating. We're all still here, and this space still exists because of you, legends. Like, has it changed the way that people perceive the anniversary, or maybe you wouldn't have noticed it as much because you would have celebrated year one, and then a matter of weeks later, shut down?
Yeah, exactly, man. I mean, it's a bit of both. I'm very aware that people are thankful and super supportive. So these things matter. I mean, even during COVID, we had a banger of a first year anniversary. It was amazing. This place was packed. We had a lot of fun, and it was busy. So that was rewarding, especially after first year of opening business. Yeah. And in year 2 and 3, we're shrouded by the gray cloud of COVID, but we still had a ton of people show up. We just did online orders, special packages, some collabs and stuff like that. But people were there for us. So yeah, I'm really hoping for year 4 will be more fun in person. A lot of sort of kind of get together and just enjoy the moment. And I think you make a really good point, and definitely notice it during especially the initial stages of COVID that support your local business or else they really won't survive. It's not just about our doors are open so we'll be okay. Like we really needed the support and we received it, so we're extremely fortunate. but I'm thinking that, yeah, like this one, this one will be like, or open anyways. It'll be somewhat like a repeat of year one where we can all get together, celebrate.
Right.
And the fact that we've survived, I mean, it's I don't know, it's kind of unbelievable, to be honest, but and try not to think of it too much as like a stressful situation, as more of something to enjoy. So,
yeah.
It's been tough.
For sure.
No, that's smart. Like, you got to just sort of lean into it. Did you guys, so you couldn't probably do a second year? I imagine that was probably just didn't happen. Like in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, our first year anniversary was February, and then we shut down. I don't remember exactly where we were at between lockdowns or lockdowns.
Yeah, who even knows?
I feel like we did some, just some local deliveries and pickups and that kind of thing. So.
Gotcha. So no party for year 2. Year 3, you did have a party, but it probably would have been somewhat restricted. No party.
Well, we did. Yeah, we were open. Yeah, we were open, but it was pretty
but restricted.
It was pretty tame. Yeah, pretty restricted, and so. And not that I'm always looking to have a party, but I think it's fun once in a while.
Oh, totally, man. It's more just like, it's not really about the party, like I said, as much as the celebration of life, that we're here, of the community type of thing. And like, it's only after not being able to have it does it mean like even more, just because.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, even if nobody's here, I'll be part of it. So.
Come through.
There you go. Great attitude.
Shooting 12% barrel aged beer. Let's go. I love it. I'm here for it, bro. I don't know if we want to, like, because we did the other one a little bit late. I don't want to rush too much, but I want to make, because we're doing 5 beers tonight, so I want to make sure we get through them all. Should we go to the next beer? Because I want to talk about the packaging and stuff, which is, I'm super curious.
Let's do
about.
that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah?
Sure. Sounds good.
Which one's next, my man?
Let's look at Friends in Mo Places.
All right. There is.
Sounds good.
Yeah, you're good. Graeme can get it first this time. All right. So, speaking of community and collab, so this is a black IPA in collaboration with Kayla from KaylaLikesBeer, who I've chatted with a bunch online. I don't know her personally, like, well or anything, but she seems like a sweetheart. And I think she's based out that way. I guess Graeme will confirm. And I think she's, she works with a lot of breweries, supports breweries very heavily in that part of the world, which is dope.
Yeah, and I think she works at Reverend's Barrel Works and and Broly, and does a lot of the social media for them. So yeah, she's pretty active in the scene.
That would make sense. Yeah, I've seen her post about them a lot, but I wasn't sure like what the deal was, because like
she works there.
She works there. Okay, that makes more sense. Because I think I started she used to talk about him a lot. Then all of a sudden, I started seeing her in their social, like in their reels and stuff, and I was like, "What's going on?"
Yeah.
But this is super dope that they did a black IPA. I feel like those are pretty damn few and far between these days, eh?
Yep, pretty few and far between, and this was like, not only was it a collab with Kayla, but also a Movember beer as well.
Hence the Mo. I was gonna ask. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at you. You know everything already. Look, you can just. What are you? How do you know all this stuff? How do you know, Nathaniel?
I assumed for one thing, and and also confirmed on their on their IG afterwards. Plus, I also don't think we've got the original label on this one. They did have like a custom label that had the picture of the mustache on it as well, so it was a little bit more clear on that one.
Gotcha.
All right, I'm gonna go grab mine now, and I also need to change my camera battery while I'm at it.
No, you're good.
So,
take your time. Okay, no problem. We're just discussing this beer. So this was, we're just saying, like, I've never met Kayla, but I've spoken to her a bunch on Instagram. She seems like a lovely young lady. Tell us how this one came about, what the deal is.
Yeah, so, I mean, Kayla's she's amazing. She's awesome. Obviously, beer lover.
Yeah.
And she's local to us, so we're lucky enough, we get to see her fairly often, and we become quite close. But she grows hops in her yard, so
that's cool.
We've done a couple collabs. We did actually, kind of along the lines of community collabs. Great Noise, we did with her as well. And I was using her hops last year, or before last year, I guess. And then this one, she was asking us if we could use her hops again for a beer, and it was just the timing worked out that we were about to brew a beer from November. I had no idea what it was going to be, but it turns out we made a black IPA.
Very cool, man. I really feel like these are an underrated style and a underrepresented style. Like I don't see a ton of them.
They're not. I mean, where do you see them? I think Release the Hounds from Big Rig is probably
the only regular
one I've seen. The only one, the LCBO that I've seen and tried. But
I think
they're
I remember when the first one I ever had was Flying Monkeys, like 12 years ago, type of thing.
Okay, yeah.
They had this called like the Netherworld or something like that. But they called it a Cascadian Dark Ale.
That's right.
Which is, I think, the official term for a black IPA. And then there's what's that brewery? It's called like Wuchak Black, Kitchissippi.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Kitchissippi, yeah.
Is that a black IPA, Nate?
They also bill that one as a Cascadian Dark.
Right. So it basically is a black IPA.
Yeah.
Okay. There's 8 million hops in this, eh? If Untapped is correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a bit of a story behind this. There was Kayla had 3 hops, hers, but then and we wanted to showcase those as, the ones used in Whirlpool. But I was down half, so we got 2 heating elements in our my brew kettle, and one went down today. So I knew that I would either A, not get to boil it, or B, boil it for like 5 minutes. So to get to the bitterness I needed, I kind of went through the hop cellar to get into what we needed here. So yeah. Oh, is that all right? So I sent you guys. I guess I ran out of our True Movember labels when I sent them to you, but this is what we're
sick.
looking at here. So.
Yeah. This is I was just telling Cee about this one while you were going to grab it.
Yeah, this is dope. So it's a Movember beer primarily, and Kayla had the hops. So you're like, hey, let's figure out a recipe that works.
Yeah, man. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, very flexible in this, and I don't know, just kind of trying to figure out what we would do that would really stand out for Movember. Stand out because mustaches stand out, and just want to make something pretty funky and fun. So yeah, it was a great style. I never made one. Been wanting to make one for a while, and it's definitely.
Oh, this is your first one. That's cool. And I saw you were rocking a glorious stash for all of November there.
Oh yeah. One day longer because we did a fundraising event here. My barber came by and we did mustache trims for everyone, and it was a good time, man. It was a good time.
Good shit.
Nothing more, when you can make fun out of, when you can grow a mustache for charity, and why not?
You got to go hard.
Absolutely.
Go hard, go home.
I'll be knocking on your doors next year now that we know each other.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, why not?
I'll be working hard to convince you.
I haven't shaved off my beard since I was 17. I'm 41.
Yeah.
I feel like I would look absurd. Like I really don't think I would look fantastic. Yeah, I would, right? I think it'd be weird. I used to have see what you've got there, like that length of stubble. I used to always think that was a beard, and I'd shave it almost like a between a 1 and a 2 or whatever. And I had this little shaver, and I would always do that, and that was my beard thing. I remember before I left Australia, I let it grow for like 2 weeks, and I just thought I was wild doing that. And so it took me a little bit before I got,
especially when you're that young, that's a lot of growth.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And people are telling you you just look messy because it's like you don't really know how to take care of it, and like it's probably not the proper hair yet or whatever. But you get to that kind of stage where it's like, I don't know. I don't know what I would look like. We'll get rid of the grays. I'd look 12. Be funny trying to buy beer. Imagine going to buy beer with no beer like that. I just kept my ID. But here you go, bro.
You know who I am.
Yeah. Well, they won't recognize me, would they? Imagine. My one thing though about doing that always made me nervous is I have to do so much content for this is a big project of mine, but I have a social media agency and we have a YouTube channel and stuff, and I got these other things that I do, and I was like, that's a lot of different places to have to look ridiculous. Like, I'm okay for BAOS because it's funner. It's like the stupidest one because we're getting drunk and talking shit. But like, I don't know. Let's talk about it. We're in touch now.
We'll talk about it.
I'm close by now, so you know.
The last time I shaved my beard was in 2013, and that was the last time I did I did Movember too. I was on a good stretch of doing that a few years in a row, and that was the last time I did. So it's actually funny because if you hit me up for this next year, that'll be 2023. That'll have been 10 years since the last time I shaved my beard off.
I feel
Might be
it's a natural
fit. Do people just say if you had a beard, right? Say if me and Nate, what if we just shave the mustache? Is that a thing and do the Amish look?
Yeah.
Is that weird?
I mean, it's really all about, I think, like
the
taking
spirit.
yourself a little less seriously for a month, and man, even if you just talk about it, make people aware, and or do it for yourself, for somebody, be a little healthier, right? For a month.
For the month. Well, cheers to that, boys. Love to see it. Cheers! I'm excited for this one. Get that in you.
The hot melee for sure.
Oh, I love black IPAs. This is great, man. So it's got Amarillo, Magnum, Cascade, Glacier, Centennial, Chinook, Comet, and Racal.
Holy shit!
I'm getting a lot of bitter coffee.
Yeah.
It's nice that the base really holds its own.
Yeah.
Carries through.
Yep, I get dark chocolate too.
Yeah.
Like but like a very, very dry dark chocolate, like an 80 or 90% cocoa kind of thing.
Like the grainy version.
All bitter, like all bitter and no sweet. It's so clean and dry the whole way through.
But really creamy.
Mm-hmm.
The body's fantastic. And it's like one of those things where the bitterness maybe hits you, and then it like as your palate gets used to it, it kind of just smooths out a little bit, and then you get more of that chocolate roastiness without the bitterness, and that creamy body that really supports it well. Wicked body on this, dude.
Thanks, man. Thanks, yeah. Love hearing like the analysis from others. You know, it's so great to get geeky and get these tasty notes.
We love it too. It's just like obviously neither of us knows shit, man. Like we're not trained. We just drank a lot of beer and talked about it a lot with people much smarter than ourselves. So it's sort of like you pick things.
You're in good company here, man. Like just the homebrewer gone pro apparently. Hey,
man, we're all just faking it, trying to make it out. Well, you're actually doing it. We're just still drinking. So you know, you are the pro here. But this is dope. I feel like it's got the nice little. There's like, you know, like I guess from the hops, you've used a lot of great New Zealand hops in this one, which obviously are, you know, quite tropical, fruity hops. But I imagine the maybe portions of them, are on the lower side, because I'm getting it. It's almost, I don't know if the maybe roastiest notes are covering it, or if they were just smaller amounts where they were supporting hops and they weren't supposed to be riding up front as such.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, a lot of them came through, and I did multiple editions, right? I mean, some early ones to get bitterness, and then, of course, as I realized how long this was taking to boil it, I would honestly, it was flying by the seat of my pants, just adding a bit more here and there. So, so you'd get some kind of in between early editions to later editions to Whirlpool, and then even like, you know, dry hops. So we did, all the whole leaf hops from Kayla were used in the Whirlpool, so we could be processed and we could kind of catch them in a filter basket there. And
right.
Dry hop was some of those New Zealand hops as well. So.
Which ones were Kayla's hops?
Kayla's still Centennial, Cascade, and Racal.
Okay, growing Racal at home, eh? That's dope.
Yeah.
I didn't know you could do.
So I might even miss that one. I might even miss that one on the list, but that's in there too. So.
Okay, you pop that on Untapped, which I very much appreciate, by the way. As like I just rely on it for quick access to, you know, as I'm writing these little notes, it's good to be able to like just refer to it. Sometimes, you know, maybe they get thrown up and don't get put down. So whenever brewers actually go to the effort of putting what's in the beer, like I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, man, it's super like roasty. I'm like, there's like a touch of like the fruity sweetness in there. But it's mostly really, like Nate said, really dry, which follows in lots of chocolate. Yeah, man, solid as fuck. What's the response been to a beer like this? Being that it's like we said, we were all struggling to name more than 2 or 3 regular ones out here.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, this kind of beer, I guess it's uncommon. A lot of people with questions about what a black IPA is. At least that one's pretty easy to answer.
Yeah.
And but mixed. It's kind of a polarizing beer.
It is, yeah.
People would either, I would say there are a few people who are uncertain even after drinking it, but can appreciate what it's all about, and then those that love it and hate it, right? So I think those that are coffee lovers, I find are very much similar to, like black coffee, different roasts, and that kind of thing, where there's so much more fruit in some of these coffees than you would expect from just this black bean. So I think that it sat well with coffee drinkers, and those who have been drinking craft beer for a few years, kind of remember that black IPA phase where there were a bunch of them out there. And,
That's a good point, because I guess the newer folks probably wouldn't have experienced it like we all would have, I guess a decade or so ago when they were exciting. And there wasn't a lot of them, but when you did get them, it was pretty interesting. But there was probably more than back then than there are now. Maybe like some one-offs.
I would say so.
Yeah. I imagine there's been a bunch of one-offs. I can think of a couple. I know Sankey M did one for Link Up in the second series, which was great.
They did. And there was also that one that Dominion City did a few years back that you lost your mind over.
Yes, Melody Noir. Yes, I'll never forget that one.
But I love how you say it was a few years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, these things just they don't happen. They're not out there. So
that was 2018. I remember it specific because it was an event that Ren was speaking at. Funnily enough, that we went up to Ottawa for.
Okay.
And we hung out with Nate and the Dominion City crew for the night, and that's when they released that beer.
Nice.
And it was a rare thing, even in 2018, which was like, I was about to say peak haze sort of like fascination, where it was still like getting out there, where you still couldn't get a ton of it in Quebec or Ontario. Like there was some, but it wasn't like a shit ton yet. So like a black IPA was still, I don't know, still relatively rare, particularly in a time when things were really changing as far as what was the most popular thing to drink. So it was like almost like a bold choice at that time.
I don't think it ever became popular per se.
No.
But, it's at its height. It was there were a few around.
Yeah, there wasn't a ton. I've seen a few different like black versions of I guess I just use darker malts, like a black Goza. I've seen 1 or 2 of those before, which is super interesting. What was the other style that was kind of weird? I guess you see like dark sours here and there. They're probably a bit more common.
Yeah.
And
when you start getting into the barrel game and whatnot, you'll see dark saisons every now and then.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And they're lovely. Dark sours, dark saisons.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you guys just remind me that I need to make one. So.
Yes, or any like darker. Like one of my faves is like I know you don't do lagers like yet or at all, but like dark lagers or black lagers, like a Schwarzbier type of thing. I wonder if there's like an ale equivalent. Like it's probably like the Cali Common, but like going all the way. I wonder what that would be.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we did. We played around with Kvike a little bit, and so something like that is something we can play with. We did a Bach, Kvike Bach. And,
nice.
White lagers. But,
that's fun.
And they're great. Something again clean, light body, but just with some more malt to it. And it's pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, man. I like to see it either way. It's just like it's always fun to see something that like you haven't really seen before or much of in a time where certain things are super popping, and I understand why. I like all those things too. But it's just, I don't know. Back in the, it makes you sound old, but like, when we were all like, I got into it properly in January 2011, I guess was when I did the selfie thing. So like, I always count it from then onwards. Really, is when I was proactively searching out beers like heavily. It was just like a different approach to it, and anything that was different, you were like, yes. As opposed to maybe now, like someone said to me one time, think about the people get into beer now. Like, they might just go straight and all, like, and the reason why I swear it was someone at a brewery, they were like, they come into the brewery and they're like, why is this sour not like a smoothie? Like, they think a smoothie sour is the only type of sour because that's all they've really had, because they've had haze, they've had pastry stouts, and they've had like smoothie sours. So it's sort of like newer beer drinkers aren't going through the same process that we did, where there was a level of excitement over the newer stuff, because a lot of the things that we sort of drank are still around, but they're like, it's almost like the things that were easy to get and were right in front of your face aren't really around anymore. You have to search them out. So it's sort of just like a different approach, and I wonder how many newer drinkers get to be exposed to a style like this in comparison.
But isn't it so great, like meeting people who are just getting into it or have a question like that, and it's so cool because you can, you'll blow their mind and be like, no, not every sour is a smoothie sour. Not every IPA is hazy, like it's so cool to have these conversations, and like, it's kind of like a refresher too for you to be like, oh yeah, I was there once.
Do you get that a lot?
Beer,
yeah, man.
So, oh yeah, I would say like we pretty regularly, like we meet people who are just trying out beer. I'm not a craft beer guy or not a craft beer girl, and but I thought I'd try it, or my friend brought me out. So, and so many questions. I love people who are actually interested in trying something new.
I would actually really love to have that. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I don't have that conversation with anybody ever.
But you surround yourself, or your circle of friends are people who are into beer or
for the most part. Yeah. So like
but when you're that must be a completely different game when you're when you're the one putting the product in front of people.
Yeah. You're the expert.
Yeah.
You're the guy behind the beer. They're at your establishment. You're being able to give them this full experience and walk them through this, like, even just for a series of little tasters or something, like, all right, try a little bit of this. Okay, you like that? This is what this is. And like, I can imagine like you didn't know shit about beer. You walked into to Counterpoint, and how many taps you got now?
Yeah, we got six now.
6 taps. I mean, that's sizable, plus stuff in package that you might bust out if there's no taps of it, I imagine, right? Do you?
Oh yeah. We've got a few other. Yeah, for sure.
Perfect. So like, you could go in there and you could have. Do you know what? It's almost like it's an optimal situation, because you could have 15 taps and they'd be like overwhelmed, but 6 is like, let me break this down for you, and it's not too much, and you could really like take someone on a journey that, I don't know. Like, we've all been doing it for so long that it's nothing, but I can imagine being hit with all of these different terms and all of these different things when you don't really understand it. It must just be like, phew. So like 6
yeah,
is
definitely. I mean, and it's great. Like, our like my staff is amazing too. They love beer. They're beer geeks as well. And so anybody comes in with a question or asking about beer, then it's so great to have this conversation and you can have it at any level. You can have it at like ultimate beer geek level. We've got one of our guys is Prud'homme trained, and then we've got some newbies. But you can go from anywhere in between there and talk about beer at different levels, and it's so cool.
That's sick. Would you be able to? It might be hard because I imagine you're not serving all the time or anything. But like, do you know what sort of percentage of the crowd are sort of like we consider maybe newer, that maybe like anecdotally, like, do you get a lot? Is it more like beer nerds are coming in, or are like just people looking for a night out, or are they brought a beer nerd brought their friends, and like what that demo is to a mild degree?
Yeah, like currently I would say most of our customers that we see from day to day are return customers. I'd say like 3/4 probably currently.
That's cool.
which is big. Yeah, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
You see the same people, they know what we're about, they know what we do. They want a mix of like some of their favorites and some of the new stuff, right? And, it's good. And then other than that, I would say our new customers are either like beer lovers checking out the region, checking out the area for Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge craft beer. So they're doing a little brewery hop, and then the others are like brought in by a friend or like dates or something like that, right? Where it's very like, oh, I heard this was a nice spot, so we thought we'd check it out, and it's also really enjoyable, and it's such like a small taproom, intimate setting. They really get the full kind of experience about what we're all about.
That's cool, man. I like that.
Nice.
That's actually just cool to when you think about that. Like, you've got and both sides are great because if you've got regulars, that means you're doing something right because people keep coming back. But also, if you've got newbies, well, I mean, that also means you've been given the opportunity to present craft beer to somebody and potentially win them over and make them a customer and a fan of the product and therefore the industry and support the businesses, whether they're from the area or otherwise. Like, it's a cool,
for sure.
It's a cool little situation to have. I like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, somebody's coming in and saying, I'm not really into craft beer, never tried beer or craft beer. Definitely, like, I tell my staff, like, just make it your mission to like find something that they might enjoy a bit or like try again, try twice.
Yep.
I mean, one of the running things in the summer is like, all right, see how many people we can get to drink stouts in the summer, right? It's not stout season, but they're so good. How can you not?
100%.
Summer evening, watching a band outside or enjoying the patio and have a nice sip of stout.
Are you talking like an Imperial or like an oatmeal?
Oh man, wow! I'd say, hey, let's start it. Let's start an oatmeal stout for the challenge. But I'll drink an Imperial stout any night.
I used to always think people were crazy. Like Nate, when Noah, we have a chat with a bunch of beer media friends. Our friend in Quebec's one of the main beer writers out there. And he would always, the joke was it would be 4 p.m. on any given day. And he would send a photo that he was drinking that beer like before 4 p.m. on like a Tuesday. So he'd be cut home from work and he'd have some crazy beer. And he always was like, man, I don't give a shit if it's like 35 degrees outside. I'm drinking a 12% barrel-aged stout. And I just always thought he was kind of crazy, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's the good stuff though.
Yeah, I kind of get it now. I kind of get it.
Like I wouldn't do it on a work day, but like there's something to it because I've pulled that move on like on a Sunday afternoon if you're if you're having a bit of a lazy day, like popping that open at like 4 o'clock and nursing it for 1.5 to 2 hours. Like that, there are worse ways to spend a summer Sunday afternoon for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and if you're not throwing it back, those things, that kind of beer is amazing because it just develops over that hour and a half, right? I mean, it's transforming.
Yeah. I've been converted lately too. It's like I had like a strict drinking schedule just because of COVID. Like all of us, we go a little too crazy. So like, all right, let me just.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's the only way to sort of like keep things in check. So there's certain nights I was supposed to take off Sunday, Monday, and then Wednesdays. And then Nate and them were always giving me shit, but I turned Wednesdays into like big beer Wednesdays because like I'm drinking like in the thing that we do this content and blah blah blah. Like there's not like always time for a 10-11% beer because I've got so many others to get through. So I was like, well, if I wait to the end of the night on a Wednesday, like after dinner, after everything, I'm a bit of a vampire, so like crack the first beer whatever time we finish dinner. And now I only have big beers that night. Like I fucking love Wednesdays now because of that, and I do that all summer long too. Like now it's colder, bro. I love it. I've been going out of my way to just rack up stouts. Now I'm in this. We were in an apartment for years, like a decade in Montreal. Now we have a house, and I got a whole cellar area here, and it's glorious. So now I can get stuff. I can see what I have. I can plan it ahead. I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna drink this on Wednesday. Boom, boom, and I've like it's become like just something I very much look for. And like barley wines probably too. Just anything that's ridiculous ABV that I would not normally drink. Yeah, and I appreciate it. And I do it in the summer as well. it's one of those things where like you can have, depending on what it is, like, you know, like, because if I wait till after I eat, this is a secret, then I don't, like, it doesn't really touch the sides. So then you could probably have two of these ridiculous beers.
You need some sustenance there, man. You need some layers.
Yeah, you
protection,
need some
right?
carbs with that.
Oh yeah, keep the carbs down, and then you get the opener. So I'll try and have like an 8 to 9%, and something, and then I have the big one. If my girlfriend's splitting them with me, well, then I can have like 4 fucking beers. I don't go crazy. Yeah, 3, maybe 4, because then it's like equivalent of 2. So I'm like, what do you want? I always ask her earlier that day, like, are you with me tonight? And she's like, no. I'm like, okay, no problem. All right, let me see. But if she is, I'm like, all right, let's go and grab the stuff. I know it's a good time. I feel like Imperial Stouts in the warm weather. I'm with you guys.
I love how the 8 or 9% is the gateway Imperial Stout.
Because I know it is kind of ridiculous. Just a starter one. I always look for like a smaller, like a short can, like 8 or 9. It's like there isn't too many. Yeah. I've only found, like, it's funny. I lived in Quebec for 10 years, and then now I'm like gagging for Péché Mortel. So I've been, you know, Nate's right on the border. So Nate's parents live in Burlington, so we've been having a nice little some dog hair floating in there. We had like a little situation. You know, he gets stuff for me, I get stuff for him, give them to his parents, and they bring them between. So it works out pretty well. So now I've been like, hey man, can you get me another 4-pack of Péché? Because Péché is like a little bottle, 9.5, nice and easy one, and then you can get into the more hectic stuff. Do you do anything like that, like around the 8-9% stouts?
Yeah, I would say we kind of jumped from like 6 or 7 to like 10 or whatever, right, for the barrels.
Yeah, I respect it, man.
8. Yeah. We've done a couple. Yeah, I mean, again, like just
one-offs, like you were saying,
stuff.
Bunch of stuff.
We've hit that for sure. But what we started to do is package our, you know, stronger stuff in 330 ml bottles, right? So
yeah.
And I appreciate that. I like this is like a hill that I'll die on is that like big imperial stouts should be served in smaller formats. I appreciate it so much when things that are like things are like above 9% are in like 335 ml bottles or shorty cans. It's so much more manageable. It's a case of my wife's not a beer drinker, so I'm the only beer drinker in the house. So sometimes
that makes a difference.
It does. So like if I end up with a 650 ml or a 750 ml bomber or something like that, even a 500 ml at sometimes, if we're talking a 14% imperial stout or barley wine or something like that. That will wreck me if I'm drinking that to myself.
Yeah, there are a lot. I feel like I'm with you on that, dude. The smaller the packaging for a larger beer, the better.
Yeah.
So I did notice that the 330, the Imperial Stout was 330. I thought that was thoughtful in comparison. I just it's one of those things where like. It makes it like even okay. So I've got my night where I do it, but I could probably have a smaller portion like that 330. I could probably do that on another night. If I just cut out one beer, I could like replace that with 2. You know what I'm saying? Like it's doable. But like say if you get a 750, you got to get one of those little wine stopper things. But I find they like don't always do the trick. It's not the same.
No, they don't. You almost need like. You know, your own CO2 canister to
reboost
purge out your bottle again, right? Like, I mean, just
guys, keep going. I'll be back in 5. I just need to go check on my son for a second.
Of course, do it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I always thought about. I know this is stupid, but have you ever tried? You know the Soda Stream machines?
Yeah.
What would that do? Would that do anything? Or was that ridiculous?
The only thing I've heard is like. You're not supposed to use anything other than water in that, so I don't know if that's
wise
causing a problem. I imagine you could probably do. I mean, they're growlers that keep your beer carbonated, right, or keep them under CO2. So yeah, I feel like you could probably there's probably some solution. Maybe it's a new business venture.
Right. There's got to be something. A bottle like a bottle closer that like maintains the
Keeps it
CO2.
fresh.
Yeah, that's got a little
Yeah.
CO2 canister like keeps bursting it in there or some shit like just to keep it
Or
going.
a can topper or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah, can top. That's a good idea. I always like those. They're not very. I don't think I've ever seen them here, but have you seen those like 8-ounce cans? Like probably what's 8 ounces? Like 250 mil, something like that. They're almost like they're like probably
Are they
two.
like the Molson cold shots, or are they even smaller than that?
They're like short and fat as opposed to like the tall and skinny.
Oh, they're like stubby.
It's like stubby. So I've only ever seen them in the States. Very few, like literally 1 or 2 beers.
Yeah.
I think it's 8 ounces. Yeah. So it must be like 250 mil. It'd have to be whatever that works out to be.
Yeah.
Those are pretty damn cool for those type of beers, like those small formats. So it's sort of like it's almost like historically the big stouts and the bigger beers have been packaged in 750s because it's like a sharing. You know, it's meant for sharing. It's the whole intention of it. But I feel like over the last 2-3 years, that kind of pointed out the flaw in that packaging is that, hey, maybe not all, not everybody has access to more than one person. Like if, there's either a lot of people out there over the last 3 years who now have a cellar of beers because they kept buying that shit and then they couldn't do anything with it, or they've had to either like take that whole bottle to the face or like, like it's harder to spread that sort of thing out.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's a really good point. I mean, even the 330s, like you could share that still, right? I mean, with a big beer,
totally,
it could still be a 2-person beer. But especially when like you say, you get into 750s. I mean, it's either you're committed for 3-4 hours drinking that beer, or you have your beer buds and you're sharing and geeking out about it. But I think they're fun. Those big bottles are fun, but like you say, I mean, pandemic has changed a lot of things, and I think that people are sitting home and more often on their own or small groups and just enjoying this special things on their own or with smaller groups.
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely the trend that's sort of happening, at least with that sort of thing. Either like the trend seems to be lower ABV period and smaller packaging. So it's really cool. What made you do the 330 in the stouts?
Oh, essentially, I mean, just my own. Well, I would say my own experience being like, again, 500 ml bottles, is what we were generally doing, and so when it came to that stuff, it was a bit much. But also, people were coming in saying, I can't buy that. Like it's a lot for me, right? So yeah, just kind of that the combination of things, and just made a lot of sense. So.
That's dope. I like that a lot, man. I feel like so these ones here, these are 500.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, 50 CL. What is CL? That's centiliters, right?
Centiliters, yeah. Kind of.
It's like
that's
a cool
that's
old
a whole
school
thing in its own. I was avoiding ounces. I just, we're metric. We're in Canada, and that's one of those things where we're sticking to ounces. I get it. It's very simple, but at the same time, just thought it was a nice change, and I don't know. I mean, centiliters it's such a simple measurement, but it's underused and nobody knows what it is. So we've had plenty of people come in and try their own version of CLs, like cubiliters or cantiliters or some other shit. But
that's awesome.
Milliliters gets to be a bit much because you're writing a bunch of zeros, and it's simple, but it
I like it.
throws people off.
It's
also like when you think about the Belgian beers, the birthplace of beer, they're all centiliters and metric. So
you're so right, they are too.
Throw back to that as well, right?
Yeah, that's dope. That's a good one. I'm picturing like Chimay and stuff like that. Like they're all centiliters on there. Yeah, you're so right. It's dual because the ounces thing throws me off, dude. Like coming from Australia, which is straight metric. I think Canada's one of the few, maybe England too, are one of the few places where it's sort of like a blend of metric and Imperial.
Exactly. The hybrid system, when it comes to pints, it's just it's ounces, right? So
yeah, and like every time they go on 16 or 20 ounce bottle, I'm like, fuck, which one's a pint again? Like someone asked me the other day, like 2 days ago, I was out and they asked me that. I'm like, I just went the smaller one. I just didn't know. I couldn't remember what was what. It was like it's always super confusing because we always have like. Even in the gym, everything's in pounds, or everyone's weight here, and we are all in kilos. Exactly. So I've forgotten. I've been in 12 years, so I've forgotten how kilos works now. I don't remember really what it was, and I've got a vague memory, but like I don't recall because you kind of have to learn pounds. But then, some things here are in ounces, some things are in like milliliter. I don't know. It's all weird. Like the Tall Boy cans are 473, which I guess is 16 ounces. But like,
that's right,
like in Australia, they're 500 mil. Like they're a little taller. The actual cans are taller.
Yeah, which makes so much sense. I mean, we're so close to. I mean, obviously, so close, and we're neighbors to the States.
I think it's because the American can makers, isn't it the aluminium people? Like the actual companies, if I'm not mistaken, are all in the States. I don't think anyone really makes it here. So like the Americans are making it, so they're going to be like, fuck you, this is our size. This is what it is.
Oh, yeah. Imagine what you have to pay for a 500 ml can.
Yeah, I guess it's
custom cans.
Custom built. I brought them. You bring them back from Australia, so I've been back only 3 times since I've lived here. But bringing beers back, and then you put them in the fridge next to the other ones, and it's all like off center. And even the short cans. So like our Coke cans there are 375 mil. That's the only two, 500 and 375. Like that's it. There's no in between. Here there's 330, 341. Blah, blah, all this bullshit, and you're like, I don't know. So then I'm putting all these there's all these different sizes in the fridge, and it ruins the stacking if you have to stack them. But
you've got the real tall boys,
and it just looks so strange when you. Oh, do I have one? I swear I have one that I kept because I thought it was just so funny. Oh, I have one here somewhere. Can't see it, but yeah, it's just like such a funny. Strange thing that it's like only if you like whatever a little bit higher, but it's just like when you put them side by side, they just look hilarious.
Oh yeah.
How we feel about the next one, boys?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, pretty obvious what we're going.
Treetop.
So is this I noticed this was on the Instagram a bunch. So this you said you got no flagship, but this feels like it's a pretty regular appearance.
Yeah, and I mean that was when we opened. I've kind of evolved into having a couple. I'd say two that are common / pretty consistent. Treetop and Trail Magic are here, so
okay,
here to stay.
Gotcha. And is that because just people like them, you like it, all the above?
Yeah, both, man. I mean, our commitment to with Treetop. Commitment to sustainability. It has a lot to do with what we stand for. So, every time we brew that, we through Tree Canada, we plant 3 trees. So one of those things where offsetting our carbon footprint, doing our thing for climate change. Again, for us, it's very easy. Plus, it's a great beer. Our former brewer came up with this recipe, and yeah, man, it's a lot of fun. Taste and make and share with people, and they've come accustomed to it, so they come in asking for it. So
I'm here for it. Love it. All right, go fill up your glass and
you got
hold it down in the meantime. IPA, love it. This is 6.5, which is the
with
money
Sabro,
zone.
Simcoe, and Magnum.
Ooh, Sabro, Simcoe, Magnum. Sabro is a glorious young hop.
Indeed.
I feel like it's still kicking out.
Interesting combo, Sabro and Simcoe. That's a mix I've seen before.
Yeah. I guess
that's
Simcoe.
Guys, poured all right.
Oh, it's looking glorious, man.
Yeah.
Where are we going to take this photo? Here we go. Beautiful. So Sabro, Simcoe, and Magnum hops in this one. That is an interesting blend. What's going on there, man?
Yeah, man. I mean, Magnum's a great powerhouse. You wouldn't even taste it, right? So it's our bittering hop we generally use. So 60-minute hop.
Gotcha.
Just high potency, high alpha acids, and gets the job done to bring it to. And it's just a touch, right? I mean, it's one of those things where this is. More East Coast, but I do appreciate a bit of a crisp bitterness, even if it's just a few IBUs.
It's a nice little balance in there.
Yeah, for sure.
This is pretty hazy.
Yeah, Simcoe Sabro.
Yeah.
Simcoe Sabro. I mean, it's kind of like a bit of new age, bit of, I mean, not necessarily traditional or old school hop, but kind of that good IPA hop. Simcoe,
Yeah, for sure.
And greenery, and then Sabro being that kind of mind blowing, weird coconut tropical hop.
Oh yeah.
And I got to say, like full disclosure, I am not a huge fan of Sabro on its own.
Okay.
I think it's like suntan lotion, kind of like weird coconut stuff. But I found it blends so well with certain hops, so it's fun to play around with that.
You know, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. It's a bit it's a bit intense in its unusual flavor on its own, but it needs it needs something else to balance it a little bit, and it does it does blend well if you can get either some other kind of more fruit forward hops or one that has a bit of a balance of pine or something like that that kind of combines well with it. It works better that way, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And so a lot of that's like with a lot of hops, you know, even I mean, Simcoe on its own is also mind blowing, but it's also nice just to kind of balance it out a bit, right? And like kind of have a friend to play with.
A friend to play with. That's a good episode name.
There we go.
Yeah.
Done. Noting that down right now so I don't forget. This is good, man. This is really good. This is a cool body on this one.
You sipped that before cheersing, didn't you?
Oh, I held it up. You were talking. Cheers, guys.
Stop talking, Nathan.
Get that in you.
Cheers. Get it in you.
Yeah, man. Friend to play with. I love it. This is super interesting. I feel like I haven't had Sabro in forever, and I'm the opposite to you guys. I love Sabro. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But I do understand the suntan lotion thing, and I've not the first time I've heard that exact description. So clearly, it's a thing that people experience, and I completely get it. I like the whole pineapple coconut thing that seems to happen with it. I mean, I'm sure it can be used in a wrong way, but this is, I see what you mean. There's a little bit of like a piney, resinous kind of thing going on here, probably from the Simcoe, I imagine, then a touch from the Magnum, but Simcoe's known in the West Coast IPAs to kind of balance it out. But the body is fantastic, which is definitely more on the East Coast tip.
Yeah.
Cheers. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's like creamy. It's a little bit sweet. Like I find it's probably the sweetest of the beers we've had tonight. But it works really well with this style. I think it's sort of like too dry, like IPAs, unless it's like straight West Coast where it's like bitter, like that works. But I feel like with the New Englands, there's got to be a little bit of sweetness. I personally prefer it that way, but it's not overly sweet. I feel like the Sabro is still kind of subtle. Like you said,
I definitely get it on the
with.
nose. I get it on the nose pretty significantly. On the palate, it's pretty like I'm finding anyway. It's pretty balanced from from some piney vibes coming through with the Simcoe.
Yeah.
No, I totally agree. Like it's definitely in this one more of an aroma that comes through.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig this, bro. I feel like it's so interesting. I don't know if I've really had a New England IPA like this before, or at least not in a while. I feel like it's got this. There's something about this is unique. Like, what maybe?
What is it? What do you think, man? I don't know. Like, for us, it's just like our regular brew process. It's a good like pretty standard malt bill, you know, with the base malt pilsner that we always use, and then a good amount of oats and wheat.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, you know, but just yeah, that's it. A little bittering, a good whirlpool, which I find can sometimes be overlooked. You know, when it comes to brewing, like whirlpool hops will still give you good aroma and flavored, but also provides some bitterness, which is nice. Again, like layered bitterness.
Okay.
But I don't know, man. I don't know. It might be just a little more IBU than is usually in East
In the
Coast
New
IPAs.
England? It could be that, but I've definitely had bitter like IPAs that like sometimes I describe them as like East meets West, and I've always enjoyed. Where it's almost like it presents East. It's kind of got like a New England body, but then there's this sort of like because this is not dank, it's piney and resinous.
No.
Yeah, it's fairly fresh tasting, right? Like it's
yeah,
for sure.
Yes, that's a good word. Fresh. That's what I'm looking for. I'm trying to sort of like get my sort of exactly what this is, why this is different to many other New England IPAs that I've had. I don't know if Nate, if you want to. I feel like you've got a more nuanced palate as far as your tasting notes than I do.
Yeah, I think you're not wrong with with describing this as as East meets West. Sabro, I mean, is definitely way more of an East Coast IPA hop, and it's like providing a very like soft tropical vibe to it. Whereas
soft is what it is.
The and Simcoe is such an interesting hop because I find that it can present in so many different ways. There are definitely some all Simcoe like haze bombs that I've had before, and it just really works with that too. But it's also such a prominent West Coast hop, bringing forward huge huge pine flavors and that kind of like sticky resinous vibe as well. What I'm getting from it here is more of that kind of a dry pine sort of thing. So it's quite a contrast to the Sabro. It's really really good. It works well together, but I do find it's kind of a hybrid style is what I'm tasting.
Yeah, that's cool. I love the analysis on that, and it's kind of like what going for when we developed the recipe was like, all right, make this East Coast IPA, make it a little bitter, and also like use these little more old school hops.
Yeah, and it works.
What we used to say. So yeah.
It's very cool, man. Like you've made it work, and I guess the point of this convo, like it stands out amongst a crowd of, New England IPAs that are probably don't have these characteristics. I guess as far as the
for sure
the bitter thing.
And since we've been talking so much about Gateway, this is one of those beers. We'll say that people will come and say, "Well, I don't really like IPAs," And my first question is, well, when was the last time you had an IPA that you tried, and really, what was it? And so it's great because it's full flavored, it's punchy, and there's nothing that smells bad about it. And the only thing would be if it's offensive to your palate, if you don't like it too bitter or too sweet. But it's pretty. For an IPA, it's got what you want, and it's pretty easy to drink.
Very much so. Yeah, I can see that being a solid gateway where it's like, you're right, because I feel like a lot of people who say they don't like IPAs had a West Coast IPA in like 2014 and never forgot about it.
Sure, yeah. Exactly.
And it ruined their life.
The IBU wars.
Yeah, exactly. Back to the palate wrecking, tongue stripping thing, which.
But it's also one of those IPAs that like IPA lovers can enjoy because it's hoppy. It's there.
Exactly. There's plenty of like oomph to it. I'm getting everything. Like I don't feel it's not like lacking in anything. It's just unique in a market where things are like I feel like IPAs trend a little sweeter, and obviously the very few have that piney bitterness in there. So really, that's probably the differentiating thing because you're not using, like Nate said. I remember having all Simcoe hop IPAs like this year, and they were straight New England, maybe dank but not bitter or piney or anything like that. Whereas like you've intentionally leaned into that element of the hop, which I have had similar-ish things before, like East meets West beers. I feel like last year they were more common, maybe the year before, but I don't recall having a lot of those this year. If either of you guys have had that, I don't know. Like I can't think of really anything that I've had lately.
Yeah, I think like a lot of like the those that present as West Coast, even ours, like we've known a couple West Coast, pale or IPA, but even those at this point are like, we can't just get that bitter. So let's, they're mostly hybrid, even the West Coast one.
Really? So with your West Coast, is it like the opposite style hybrid where it's clear, but maybe it's a little more fruitier than just being piney and dank?
Yeah. But I think
cool, man.
we just have to go for it. But it's also nice, like in a way, right? Because some of the, again, as the current or most recent trend of hazy East Coast IPAs have been like a bit too sweet, a bit too much on that side of things. The West Coast are, obviously you moved away from it for a reason. It's just so bitter and like caramelly and that kind of thing, right? So
yeah. So you moved away from that. Those
hybrids are great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Have you guys ever done a straight up West Coast, or it's like typically like this kind of your own take on the style?
Yeah, just our take on it. We went for it, but then realized we could have gone more bitter, and so I think that's what we'll do next time is just go for it. Don't be afraid of just getting too bitter. We go for one batch of massive IBUs and sell, give it to the people and see what they say.
Hey man,
it's experience, right?
Yeah. That's it. I feel like that's what it is, and like I don't know, like I said earlier, like Nate and I just the last episode was a West Coast one, and it was something like I feel like I don't know. I won't speak for Nate, but I went really heavy into the trendy stuff. Like the haze was something like I was obsessed with from 2016 because you couldn't get it, and also because I couldn't leave Canada for a bit when I discovered it because I was waiting on immigration. So I hadn't left for a long time. As soon as I got my work permit, I was fucking gone. I was like going to the States a lot, and then as Canada slowly amplified it up, it was really cool to watch and drink stuff from everywhere. And then over the last year and a half maybe or so, like really started to get into the West Coast, and to the point where
sure, man.
like
sure.
Like I guess it's almost like it's not quite the pendulum swinging back for Nate and I, because we talking about this a lot, that's why we did the episode, but like just like an interest, that we're having a lot of haze, it's around us everywhere, it's fantastic, it's great, nothing negative to say about it, but it sort of almost the volume of that made you appreciate the West Coast more. So when you're having, and I feel like all of a sudden there was, like we were saying before about the Cali Commons or the black IPAs, like they're few and far between, but when you get your hands on them, it's like, oh man, I scored one. And it was, and it was a thing. It was a big deal, and you like really appreciated it. And then you found the few ones that were made regularly that you could get your hands on, and we both found that we were, reaching for those beers a little more often. We're like, this is interesting. That's the trend that we're finding for ourselves. So, I don't know if other drinkers have experienced something like that, but I guess I'm telling you this to support your notion to make a full-blown, balls to the wall West Coast IPA. It's like,
just go for it.
Yeah, man. Like, I feel like it could be. I'd be interested based on what you're saying about who your customer base is. You've got your regulars, you've got your new people. There's the folks who have, been scarred by their IPA experience 7 years ago, whatever the fuck. But I imagine that there's going to be an element of the crowd that are going to be like, yes, this is sick. Like, this is, and it doesn't have to be like the palate wrecking stuff. I feel like the ones that, I don't know, Nate, you can probably speak to it more, but I felt like the ones that we had in the last episode were sort of like nuanced. They were definitely more tropical forward than what we remember from back in the day. They were still piney, bitter, and dank, but I guess balanced. And it was, you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
And I feel like all the beers that we had tonight are very balanced. And if anyone's going to do balance, I feel like you could definitely do that.
Yeah, but I kind of feel like making a palate wrecker,
Then fucking let's get a palate wrecker.
Why not? Go for it.
Exactly.
Yep.
I just want to make nobody, all those.
No one remembers the average stuff.
All those, exactly. All those nerve endings are going to get ruined.
Yeah.
So how do you make a You've really, if you're dead out, like this is very exciting to hear that if you want to do that, because that's sick. Like, what is the difference? Okay, this is probably a little beer nerd question then. We're drinking a New England heavy style IPA here with Simcoe, but then you can go and make a West Coast IPA with that same hop that will rip your tongue off. What's the difference in the use of the hop to extract maybe tropical flavors, maybe a touch of bitterness in this one, but the West Coast would be a completely different process, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about the West Coast is just focused on bitterness. I mean, dry hopping was not even a thing, right? When hops were initially used in America, so it would just be a lot of early additions. I may give in to some dry hopping just for some flavor, but I would probably just use the traditional West Coast hops.
The C hops
for that purpose.
Yeah,
exactly. Just to give that flavor, but still, we could. Oh man, there'll be some tongue stripping with some bittering. I feel like you like it. But my latest, I mean, like a few years ago, my buddy brought up it's like 120-minute IPA, right? Dogfish Head, and there's no information on that. It's just like IPA, and
it's like basically a barley wine, right?
Oh man, it pours like syrup, and it drinks like you're chewing on hops, And so there's no ABV on there because the regulations down there don't require it. And so
yeah.
Oh my God.
It says, anywhere between like 11% and 20%. You're like, what am I getting into, right? I'm just destroying my body.
Worth it.
Maybe not that bad, but we'll do some. Yeah, we'll make it happen. Something good.
I think honestly,
I'd love to try that.
There would be a very excited subset of craft beer fans for something like that.
I think so. I think what we'll do is we won't rip it off. We'll just do 115-minute IPA.
Ooh, there you go. 117.5-minute IPA.
Exactly.
Yeah. Someone was telling me, Nate, was that in the episode where we realized that like an IPA, like a West Coast IPA that just went for that long was essentially a barley wine?
Yeah, that's what we were talking about. It's not the first time we've mentioned that. I'm pretty sure we've talked about that before in a chinwag or whatnot. But
yeah, which is hilariously fascinating. But I guess it's like a barley wine, but with a palate wrecking hop profile, as opposed to that kind of sweeter thing.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Yeah.
Oh, that's fat.
Like something. Like something like back when Barncat used to make Green Out, that was like that's basically what that was. Just a super aggressively hopped American barley wine. Like that's what that was for sure.
Yeah, I guess I never thought about that. That's what that is. This is fantastic, by the way. I'm really sort of like I feel like once again like the bitterness, it makes it unique, but it's one of those things where as soon as you have a bit of it, it starts to mellow out a little bit, and it kind of like it's there in the back end, a little touch just to differentiate, but it's not like it's not like taking over, and it's like a nice.
I think for me, it almost makes it more drinkable, right? Like you can get IPA that you're gonna have one of because it sounds funny, right? But if it's too sweet or just not balanced, then one big IPA, but I think the bitterness kind of balances it out.
It's kind of blending in with one thing I'm a huge fan of is hop burn or the greenness of a beer.
Yeah.
I find that it makes it last longer, which is obviously a big challenge with the style. But like if it's used right, I just think it's like a nice little just a little thing at the end, which is kind of the bitterness. If there isn't a green hop burn thing happening here, then it's the bitterness that's replicating that same feeling at the very back of your tongue at the end of the sip. And it's very pleasant, and I fucks with it.
Oh yeah, I love to hear that, man. That's good.
It's dope. One thing we didn't touch on that I mentioned earlier, but then we kept getting distracted, was the choice of packaging. I noticed that obviously all the beers we have tonight are bottles. On your social, there are definitely a few different canned options, but it's predominantly bottles. Do you want to run through sort of what the thinking was behind keeping with bottles? For the brews.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we started off with bottles because of the fact that essentially it was two homebrewers starting up. We knew what we were doing. Also, we started on a budget, like a tight budget. So, playing around with canning machines, bottling machines was just not in the realm. So everything's manual. We sat and we bottled by hand with a bottling gun, capper, and labeling and all that stuff. So
Wow.
And just keeping in that spirit was it was very easy to do. It was a lot of work, right? But we weren't afraid of hard work, and it was very manual, but we could do it, and kept it pretty simple. So it's I don't know. I mean, it's elegant. It's it's what beer was introduced to us in, and it's so cool in that way.
That's a good point.
We'll look at doing cans. I mean, like you said, we've done cans before, and so during the pandemic, when everything was being packaged, we really had no choice but to bottle everything, and that got a little overwhelming for us. So we were lucky enough, so we mentioned Block 3. They were offering their canning services. They just bought a sweet canning line, so we were able to bring up some kegs to them, and they would can for us and label, which is great. So
that's
good option. Took a little heat off of us, and again, that kind of community thing where we get to hang out with them and work together on this thing to help everybody survive. They were able to pay their guys and keep their guys busy, and we were able to can stuff. And it took, I mean, when it comes down to it, they do in 20 minutes what it took us like 8 hours to do. So
jeez,
it was pretty fucking amazing that way.
You'd be like, God damn it.
Nope. Exactly. Yeah. When do I get my canning line?
Yeah. Did that make you want to move towards cans when seeing that, or is it still something that you're happy with the bottle situation?
Yeah. So I'm really looking at doing both. I mean, I think there's kind of that perspective that cans make everything cheaper, and cans are just kind of like that easy way to go. But for us, I mean, I'm not able to get any more equipment right now. The machine that I have that bottles, it'll do cans as well. So we'll look at doing some cans. I find that they move a lot faster. Bottle shops, which are more can shops than bottle shops, they don't want bottles. I mean, it's a matter of like space, and I totally get it. So no problems there, but it's one of those things where it just gives us that option. So I think what we'll do is in the new year we'll look at doing some more canning. Get our crushables in cans and get them moving more. And people need them in the summer. There are pools and cottages and hikes and all that stuff, right? That cans just make a whole lot more sense for. Bottles are nice, and I think that they for our higher end beers, we'll stick with them. Presentation is nicer, and then again, it's just kind of like that perspective that some good high quality stuff is usually in bottles.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's almost weird. Not totally weird, but I think it's more. There's certain, if you have a barley wine out of a can, it's a little odd, or like a barrel-aged Imperial Stout out of a can, it's not quite the same. You kind of expect that experience, because that's when it becomes an experience, whether it's wax sealed or not. If it's anything crazy, but just this bottle that's like we were talking about earlier, that someone needs to invent a bottle stopper for, but it's cool they've already got the you got the 330, so you've already almost essentially solved that problem, because you've made it a crushable bottle for serving for one or for two, if you so please. Which really solves that situation. So that's interesting. I like that. I never really thought about it, call them bottle shops, but they really can.
Yeah, they really are mostly can shops.
Yeah. Have you had push? Are you getting actual pushback? You actually get pushback?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're saying literally our shelves aren't that tall.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, it's great to know, people that can actually be honest with you and just be like, hey, we've had some amazing IPAs, amazing IPAs sit there because they're in bottles, and then the mediocre beers or whatever we just moved because they're in cans. So when we see it here, when we did have some cans on our shelves, we can stack them in 4-packs or 6-packs, and people just grab them and it doesn't matter. Almost doesn't matter what they are, right? You're just looking for a bunch of cans. So
Well, look, that's
it's too bad in a way, but also like we'll just adapt. I mean, it's one of those things where, like you say, it can be weird to open some finer beers if it's in a can, but it might be the future. So it's just can only fight it so much. One of the other reasons, like we stuck with bottles, is that bottles are always mostly recycled. And then I was getting some stats from there was an environmental engineer I was talking to who said like there are like 50% of cans are just kind of tossed because they're so easy just to get rid of, and
the bottles get recycled,
collected, taken back to the beer store, and
yeah.
And so they're more recycled. I don't know why, but it's just one of those things. So, in that case, it kind of hits our like sustainability point where we're okay with it, but at the same time, we got to run the business, and
it's got to stay positive. Yeah, I never thought about that. Like, even when I lived in Quebec, because I'd lived here first, they don't have the same system there. You have to actually only buy if you're going to take a beer, say, back to a dépanneur or supermarket, it has to have been purchased at that place. So if they don't stock it, they won't take it back. And I get beers from everywhere. So I'm like, well, that doesn't work. So I couldn't fathom throwing them out or recycling them. So we used to rent a car because we didn't have a car at the time. We were in an apartment in the city, like you didn't need one. And we'd drive to Hawkesbury, like just over the border to the beer store to then drop them off.
Oh, nice.
It was so stupid for it almost would you barely break even by the time you paid for the rental car and everything. You might get that costs $50-$60 and you get $80 back for the beer. But it was the principle, goddammit, and I couldn't handle it. And now it's glorious because now I have a vehicle and I'm in Ontario, so I can just I get 2 bags full, boom, boom. Now my wallet won't even close because I'm just like, you change it, you get like $8 back, and you get like a $5, and you get all these coins and all the. I don't spend cash ever. I don't know what to do with it, but it's more like I feel better about it because I'm like, it feels like a good thing. It feels like it's the right thing to do. You take all the stuff back, whether it's cans or bottles. But I can understand I've also, you walk past on, trash day or whatever, and you see all the clear plastic bags out the front with people full of like beer cans or whatever. I'm like, bro, that's like $40 right there. Yeah. So it's
for sure. Yeah, we get our regular guys collecting from our neighborhood recycling bins or whatever, right? But at least it's going back, and it's good.
Someone who needs it is actually benefiting from it. Yeah, it's an interest. It's very cool that Ontario does that because I think it's like cool that it's like it's less restricted. Like even I think in Quebec they don't take wine bottles, they don't take liquor bottles. So in my building there was always a whole bunch of wine and liquor bottles in the trash area in the thing, and I was always like, man, if there's an enterprising person here that would take this, I couldn't be bothered, but taking that and then going to Ontario and just getting the cash. Because this is like money here for that, so it's cool that there's an incentive to get people to continue to take it back. But I see what you mean. Bottles are definitely, you think recycling. Cans, you just like because you have soda and stuff comes in cans, but you don't get a Coke in a bottle really. So you would recycle the soda, and maybe it's just like a mental thing. But yeah, loving it, boys. So where do we want to go from here? Do we want to do the stout, or we want to take this home? How are we feeling?
I'm down for it if you guys want.
I'm not scared.
Yeah.
Never
it's
afraid.
Good. I mean,
and
like
have
finale,
we talked? I know I had to step out for a minute there. Have we talked about the rebrand yet?
No, I was. I feel like we could do that right. I was thinking about that just before, so I feel like we could do the stout and then move into the rebrand.
Perfect. Let's do it.
Sounds like a good chat.
I love it. I'm excited. This whole thing's been a great chat. Whoever, Nate, you're gonna go first. So,
all right. Yeah.
This is the big dog. The
big dog in the little bottle.
Big dog, little bottle. The perfect single serving for a craft beer podcaster and a craft brewery owner. You know the vibes. So this is New Roots, 10.3 stout, Imperial stout aged in a single bourbon and maple syrup barrel. Oh fuck! I forgot about this. Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah, man. Really, really fun and kind of incidental collaboration.
Love an incidental collab. Talk us through it, brother. This is awesome.
Yeah. I have a friend who I've known for a long time, did not know he was making maple syrup, and reached out and was like, "Hey, I've got this bourbon barrel that I use for maple syrup. Do you want it?" And I was like,
Yeah.
"Of course I do." So,
Oh my god, this literally smells like straight bourbon.
yeah, I mean the barrels. That's another story too. Like the barrels that I received, like after trying out this barrel, I contacted the distillery directly and just said, "Hey, man, like, I need to get some of these." So.
Are they pretty like forthcoming? I guess at this point they're pretty aware that like breweries are pretty excited for their spent barrels.
Yeah, I guess so, man. Like it was very easy to just talk to them, say, "Hey, like you sell your barrels and be done with them or whatever." But we just had to organize shipping, and they're very willing to share. So
That's awesome.
we're on my beer.
Yeah, grab that. Smell this bottle, Nate. Do you smell the bottle? It smells like bourbon, like straight bourbon. Yeah, right?
Yeah, it does.
I like that goodness. It's very Charlie Brown. You like that? Yeah, so it's his it was his friend had maple aging in bourbon barrels, and he gave him the barrels that had the maple in it after they had bourbon in it.
Right, okay.
Which is pretty fucking fire. And the bottle just smells like dead ass, like a bottle of booze, which is crazy. And I think it's pretty sweet because there's no head.
I got some on mine.
There's a little bit to begin with, but it dissipated almost immediately. Oh, no, I didn't get that. Mine's just, like, gone. So I assume that's just because either it was the bottle or it was the volume of sweetness often. I'm excited, man. I love this type of shit. And once again, format, 330. Get that dog up. Oh, he actually put 330 mil as opposed to 33 CL. Yep. I respect it.
That's it.
Mate, I'm ready for it. Oh, street. Yeah, this is fantastic. This is such an interesting mix of beers and styles.
Yeah, it is for
this
sure.
evening. So it was Phil 1, bourbon from Few Spirits, FEW, in Evanston, Illinois. Phil 2, that was the original. That was bourbon. The second one was maple syrup from Nithwood Reserve in Wellesley, Ontario. And Phil 3 was this Imperial Stout. So this barrel's been used 3 times.
Dang.
And that's what the fuck. And 15 months. Okay, that's why. 15 months is a pretty crazy amount of time to be aging this shit, eh?
Yeah, it is.
And it's 10.3. That's pretty crazy. Imperial Stout, aged in bourbon barrels that once housed maple syrup. I feel like that's pretty cool, and it's really interesting. I'm curious to taste like the maple side, because I feel like maple doesn't always come through unless it's sort of used in a certain way. So we're just running through the back of the label, which explained it. Yes, go on, Nate.
Yeah.
The way it comes through is usually not as if you're pouring maple syrup on pancakes, but it does have but it does impart certain other kind of earthy, but sweet and sweet, but in a different way. That kind of thing, rather than coming out as because of course most of the sweetness will ferment out, but it does show up in different ways, and particularly when you're talking about it in barrels.
Yeah, 100%. We're just saying as well, Graeme, that Nate's one has a little bit of head. Mine had no head, so I wasn't sure if that was just because the bigger and sweeter the barrel is. I found that a lot of stouts I drink don't have head. It's just part of the game.
Yeah. Now, is yours? What's the carbonation level like on yours?
I haven't sipped it yet. I was waiting because I got yelled at last time.
Oh yeah. Cheers.
Cheers, boys. Get that in you.
Cheers.
Carb seems fine, to be honest.
Okay.
Oof.
Yeah. So it could just be that time in barrel. contact with whatever. It's kind of like when you look at barrel aged sours too. I mean, different
Can go different ways.
Composure, but
Yeah.
for sure. A bit more irregular. I mean, especially with this case, the way we treat these is almost carbonated at different segments. So
Of course.
Depends on the bottle.
This is really interesting. It's like it's not as like intense, which is great. Sometimes Imperial Stouts can be all encompassing and like a meal in a glass. This is a bit more approachable, might be the word. It's not overly sweet. Like any of your beers tonight, all of these beers were not overly sweet, which is great, which makes it much more drinkable and across the board. The maple is subtle. Like literally, as you were coming back, we were talking about how maple presents itself. Like it typically gets fermented out, but because it was part of the barrel, it would probably soak in. So I imagine that as it warms, there'll be a little more maple character, but it's like subtle. The bourbon's pretty strong.
Yeah, bourbon's at the forefront. That's definitely something we found with these barrels.
Guys, I apologize. I need to step away for another second, but keep going.
You're good, brother. You know how it goes. There's like chocolate, oak, vanilla. It's like, am I getting like not licorice or something? Are you getting anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. Like black licorice. It's almost funny, man, how these spices come through for no reason other than barrel and time.
Totally. Yeah, man. Which is it's such an art form. It's such a cool thing.
This was a process. Like I've never done anything. I've done stuff with maple before, but again, you talked about it. It just ferments. It's such a delicate flavor. It's like any delicate fruit, right? I mean, you ferment it, and it's so volatile. The flavor can disappear. But so it's such a gamble putting a big beer, in this barrel. And we tasted along the way, and it was a roller coaster, man. Like it did not. there was a point where we were gonna dump it.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Shit.
And it took a sharp turn and
back in business.
So
wow.
So wild.
Interesting. So it was sort of like it was good. It wasn't so good. It was good. It was like, oh fuck, do we get rid of it? Like,
just the initial. I'd say almost for the first year, it was like when we put it in and we tasted it a few months later. We're like, all right, it's it's new. It's still young, it's developing, and then even up to a year, and at that point, I was really worried. I mean, the worst case is we lose a bunch of beer, but ideally we get something that's amazing and complex and layered. And even after a year, it was just it was sharp and not finished. I mean, with this maple syrup sitting in the barrel, you're re-fermenting a complete re-fermentation of the beer, which is not generally healthy, right? So that was putting off some off-putting flavors, but just let it sit in patience and continue to taste it. It doesn't. I find it doesn't present itself as like a true big Imperial Stout. I mean, it's a bit boozy, a bit bourbony, but it's not too.
It's not too crazy.
Overwhelming.
I'm gonna bring the screen. I'm just gonna keep you up here. Oops, there we go. Just while I change my battery. Can you hear me? Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's not like this like syrupy, if you think of an Imperial Stout, often that's what you think of is sort of like a larger syrupy kind of thing that's like I said, like a meal in a bottle. I'm not gonna say anything wrong with that, geez, but like
no, absolutely. I love those. Those are my favorites.
Yeah, like I feel that. but it's like it's
Yeah.
cool to have an experience with an Imperial Stout that's sort of not like as like overwhelming might be the word.
Yeah,
So
yeah, for sure. It's toned down. But it's still got a lot going on. But it's
yeah, it's not
Consume
exactly
the whole
like.
pint.
Well, yeah. Well, I guess it's not even. You could consume a pint. It's not even a pint. I guess it's a.
True.
It's a nice little 300, 330.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Nate's coming back. Sorry, Nate. I just had a battery change. Let me add you on until I come back.
Yeah, no worries.
Maybe I'll just add this one here for now until I get the battery back. But yeah,
Sure.
it's super interesting. It's just like such an interesting sort of take on the stout with the maple with the thyme in it. You just sort of missed it, but Graeme was just saying that they almost got rid of it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Almost dumped that bad boy,
Oh shit.
which would have been
Yeah.
That would have been a shame.
right.
Yeah, it was just unhealthy. Like it was tasting and smelling. I mean, like, but I guess it was almost like a born again beer. You drop this finished, perfectly fine beer into this barrel full of sugar, and re-fermented, and it took a long time to become its own new beer. So,
Yeah.
it's part of barrels, though. You lose control. You put a lot of, I mean, you put a lot of faith. You just kind of pour it in and pray it'll come out looking and tasting good. But again, really fun, like local collab with these guys from Nitswood Reserve, who we've got the syrup here.
Sick.
These are the guys that brought in this barrel from Few Spirits, which is Evanston, Illinois. And it's perfect. It's a small barrel. It's like 110 liters, and we're used to the bigger ones. But for us, for our scale, we can still fill a barrel, and we still have plenty to either fill 2 or 3 barrels, or we can like fill a barrel and still have some to sell fresh. So it was nice to be able to have this little side project and put a third of our batch away for 15 months in this case.
Yeah. Which is pretty huge. That's no small amount of time for a brewery that's been open just shy of 4 years. That's damn near too much shy of like half the time you've been open. If you think about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Which is kind of bonkers. I love it. Do you want to get into the rebrand real quick?
Yeah, for sure, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Nate, do you want to drive that? I'll be back in like 30 seconds.
Yeah, sure.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so I remember noticing that you guys did a pretty significant rebrand to come up with the labeling and branding, really of everything from your labels right down to your merch and everything in between. Can you talk about what drove that and how you kind of landed on what what you wound up with here?
Yeah, for sure. It's kind of one of those, I guess, real business moments. Not even moments, just processes where Counterpoint started with, like I mentioned before, Rich and I, and Rich is a professional musician, and
Okay.
Counterpoint is a very musical term, but also has kind of like that everyday term. So musically, it means two melodies played coincidentally to create one melody. But so we took that to mean or to translate into beer and community. So multiple people can combine to create a community. Multiple ingredients can combine to create one flavor, one beer. But also at the same time, the generic term is complementary and contrasting factors or
Right.
So so it was really nice to be able to play around with that. Again, kind of a wordplay, but again, at the time, was musically focused, and so when Rich left in midway through pandemic, and I felt like I couldn't do the whole musical aspect of it justice. I love music, but I'm not by any means trained or educated in sort of classical music. So kind of went with what I love / what Counterpoint also means, and also what after at the time it was like 2 or 3 years of business, we kind of realized what I as leading the businesses are really what I'm really going for. So we took the step to rebrand, really refocus, and it was quite a process, but it ended up coming with a new logo and kind of a new feel for what Counterpoint is. You can see our logo. If I can just get it up there.
Sick.
There we go.
There it is.
Yeah. So, the C is really obvious. It's Counterpoint. You can probably see it up there, but I'll try and get an image on our bottle or my glass later on. But there's a couple little notches in there to kind of make it a little more almost like human, almost like a profile of a face. And the waves are simply, yeah. The waves are simply, natural elements. So hills, waves, but also like the little curl on the top wave there. It's like if you pour a beer and you watch it go down into itself, and then it comes back up. So it's almost like a little current of beer. So it's kind of what that top.
Oh, that's cool. You put a lot of thought into this. I like that.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
That's
so a lot of fun in that. A lot of thought into what we want, what we're looking for, and really want to portray as a business, but also make it fun and also is I don't know. My branding team really. It was, like I said, it was a great process, and it's kind of like a deep dive into myself as well, and I love doors and exploring and stuff like that.
Cool.
So it's kind of like described. A lot of people come in and say, it reminds me of like a West Coast Vancouver brewery kind of thing, but whatever. Just love getting outside. So I guess that's what it translates to.
That's sick, man.
No, that's cool. And I particularly like the teas and whatnot. How how they've within the oval they've got like all of the trees and whatnot up top.
Oh yeah.
And followed by the waves below. Particularly with sustainability being a big part of your whole mission statement and whatnot. I feel like the branding really reflects that, which is pretty cool. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about right there.
We haven't used that enough because that is I think that's my favorite part. When the guys came up with the logo, I was like, I love this logo. It's great. Great brand mark, shows everything. And then they sent me this shirt design, and I was like, this is on the spot. Like, it's logo times times a million, and it's so cool they integrated everything. But yeah, for sure. I mean, it's fun design. It's cool, and I think everybody can kind of see that and understand what we're all about.
Yeah, 100%.
That's great.
It's very cool. Like, I love a rebrand. We talk about this a bunch on the pod across the board, but I don't know. I just really like. Hey, here we go. Yes, finally got it working. God damn it! Took me a minute. We got it going. We're back in action. I hate that laptop light. I love when breweries take marketing seriously, and like that's really what the rebranding is. And I feel like after the last few years, it really showed the importance of it. Like because we own a social media agency and we do marketing, like it's something that we've been professing for some time. But I feel like more breweries took it more seriously over the last few years, because it's one of those things where like if you aren't stepping up to the plate with regard to marketing, then you're kind of letting the brand fail, particularly at a point once again where you had no physical experience with the brand. Everything was digital, so it's always cool to see, like, you're like, all right, you know what, let's bring the brand to where we are at now, which is what you guys have done, both with the merch, with the experience, obviously, in the tap room there, with the labels. Like, it looks crisp. Like, these, like, labels are sick. They're super fire, clean. I was staring at the font before, and I was like, yo, I just really like the font. It's just clean, like, sans serif.
Yeah.
Real simple, man. Simple but effective. And simplicity is undervalued these days, I think.
Yeah, I think it's, like, again, it's so funny. You're trying to find a balance of, like, hey, what I like, but also it's not about me. But it's somewhat about me, like it has to represent ownership and what we look for in our own business, but also like what we think, we'll catch an eye and really be attractive for people to look at. So yeah, it's a process, man. It's so personal when it's a small business to really hone in on what you want to show as your label. And like you said, like when we're shut down. It was one thing when we're just, when we're open and everybody can walk in. We can. That's our brand was like us and what we give as, as a taproom environment. But when we close and all people see are images and colors and all that sort of stuff, it's so important to kind of hone in on what we can do with that.
100%, and that's what you've been able to do now, particularly with that distro. So people are going to have their first interaction with the brand. They're going to see this at a bottle shop. If they, it's not directly with you where you control that experience.
Yeah.
At the very least, they can see this branding stands out. It's clean, it's crisp, it's consistent across the board with the different different beers and products that people can purchase. Whether it's the one like Treetop with a permanent label, or it's one like, the Friends of Mo Places, which, well, the one that we have, I know you have the other one there, but the one where they're smaller batches, so you don't have to, it's not really worth it to press it up. It's like, well, it's a trial run, which makes it almost more exciting to get, because that this is really small batch that they didn't even bother doing that. That's sick. Like, so it's like a whole top to bottom experience, and like, the merch is fire. Like, it's cool, man. I just like I said, we talk about it a bunch. It's just very cool when breweries take that part very seriously. It's great. I love it.
I'm stoked you guys love it. Like, I don't know, it means a lot. You guys are very on point as well with, that's also your jobs, right?
It is, yes.
Branding and marketing and that sort of stuff. So it's really cool to hear that you're into it and you like it.
Yeah, it's great shit, dude.
Very pleased to hear. Thanks.
Hey, man. No, it's very dope.
Absolutely.
Love it. So with that, it looks like we're at nearly 2 hours 40. This is good. We haven't done one this long for a little bit. This is great.
That's a long chat, boys.
Yeah,
this time flies, man.
It does fly, and I kind of had a feeling. I was saying to Nate earlier, I was like, I know we hadn't met, but I was like, Graeme seems cool as shit, bro. I feel like this is going to be a longer one. And here we are. I love it, and it felt like I said, time flies. But honestly, Graeme, man, thank you so much for hanging out, for spending the time, for being so generous. Like, the merch is fire. Really appreciate it. The beers are all fantastic, really unique in their own ways, and it's been really cool to get like a great snapshot of the brand, I think, across the board with this conversation and with these different products tonight, man. So thank you, man, and I hope everyone really got the vibe of what Counterpoint's all about.
Man, I really appreciate the opportunity, and I've been following you guys and watching you do your thing, and love what you're doing for the beer industry, and just, I know what you're all about, and it's all good stuff, so it's an honor to be on.
Really appreciate you.
Thanks, man. We appreciate that.
For real. Real quick, we can wrap up off air. Let's get the thumbnail real quick. So I'm going to take a screenshot of the.
Let's do that.
Do you want to hold up some bottles there?
What do you want here? Some beers?
Yeah, hold them bad boys up. Whatever you want. Hold anything up. If you have a baby, hold it up. I'm going to go get my dog. Hold him up.
I can't do this. I'm not good at this at all. All right.
Yeah.
Just do glass.
There we go. Yeah, your glass is good. There you go. Look, Brandon, glassware. All right, ready? Oh, that is gorgeous. That is stunning. We've got it. We got it. So we'll wrap it up off air. I know, Nate, you got to dip right after, but
Wait, can we get one more where I do the?
yes.
Oh
we-
yeah.
Oh, say less.
Good man.
yeah. Can you?
You've been on top of that. Whatever you need. All right, ready? Hang on, wait. So got that there. Got this ready. Oh, that is glorious. I'm going to send that one to the. Oh, that is. Woo! Graeme, where can everybody find Counterpoint online, man?
Yeah, so you can find us counterpointbrewing.ca. We're on Instagram, Counterpoint Brewing Co. And Facebook, same thing. Kind of getting up on Twitter.
It has its moments, you know.
Yeah. Not for us, but it's got its thing.
I respect
So anyways,
it.
yeah, we do that stuff. And check out Eventbrite. We've got started off this pretty cool tiny taproom concert series where we do some really intimate local presentations and performances. So really fun stuff. Some
Love it.
events there. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Make sure you guys check that out. Uncle Nathan, where can everyone find you, sir?
You can find me everywhere at NathanDoesBeer and occasionally co-hosting BAOS podcast.
Damn right. This is the last one for 2022.
No way. That's it.
There's hang on, this is the last regular series one, so last one with Nate. There might be one more, or we're doing the link up series at the same time. So there might be, I might do one more. I'm not sure yet. It depends. People tune out at the holidays, you know.
On the fringe.
On the
exactly,
fringe, you know what I'm saying? Like, we could, but you know, we have we do a top 10. I do a top 10 Quebec breweries of the year with Matt from Vox and Hops and Noah from Beerism in Quebec. So that we're shooting that next week,
and
then
cool. Yeah.
which is great, which has been really fun. I think this is the 4th year in a row. And Nate and I do a top 10 Ontario breweries, which is the 2nd year in a row. But we actually wait to the end we'll do it in like the first week of January. You never know. What if someone drops the most fire beer of the year on December 27th? You know what I'm saying?
That's it, man. Give you the bomb.
So
the whale,
you know,
the big whale.
You never know. Something could come. So we wait right to the end of the year. So that would be that. But yeah, stick around to the end of the call. We'll wrap up off air really quickly. But both you guys, thank you so much. Graeme, you're champion. Fantastic to meet you. Look forward to coming and hanging out at the brewery. And Nate, you're a legend. Thank you as always. It's always a pleasure. Everyone, thank you for watching and listening. If you enjoyed the episode, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe below, hit the notification bell so you know when the new news drops. Follow us everywhere at BAOS Podcast and check out the long form audio. You can hear attractive individuals like Nate and Graeme talk about craft beer. We drop at 8 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. We'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.